It is not a slow news day. It's the calm before the storm. Because that eclipse is coming and everybody's freaking out. And I don't think it really means anything. It was funny because we had an eclipse in like October or something. Nobody cared. Now we're having an eclipse and like Fox News has this thing on the screen and it's like special coverage, eclipse, United States. And it's just like, okay, like, I guess it's different because it was an annular solar eclipse, and now we're having a total solar eclipse. So fine, whatever. But there is some news and a lot of smaller stories that are interesting and cultural stuff. Right now, there's big concern that a bird flu pandemic, tuberculosis, measles, something could hit. Probably bird flu, and this has been talked about for quite a bit. But now the New York Times is reporting that a human being has actually been infected with bird flu, and this is the moment everyone's been worried about: human transmission. And now that people have it. What? Within 2 months, they're going to say bird flu is spreading. We got to shut everything down. The mortality rate, they claim, is around 56% for bird flu. So I will stress, with the New York Times saying a human being now has contracted it, the White House is monitoring the situation, and there's bird flu popping up in other animals. Don't be surprised if they try to pull off more lockdowns. I think there's a shadow campaign. I think it's fair to say we talked about the voter registration stuff the other day, but we really have no idea what's going on. So, considering it's the calm before the storm, we'll talk about that and a bunch of other news. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy coffee. Coffee is the greatest drink of all time. Every human being agrees, and we sell the best of it. Appalachian Nights apparently sells so good, we struggle to keep it in stock. So go to castbrew.com, support the show. Cast Brew is our company. And everything, whenever you buy Cast Brew, we're not pulling profits from it. All of that money is being reinvested back into Cast Brew because we want to set up 1,000, 2,000 locations all across the country. Every time you buy Cast Brew, we just throw that money in the bank and we use it towards to building the physical location, the first one in Martinsburg, West Virginia, which is a couple months out. And then we are already in the process, paperwork's being filed to get more and more locations. Why? Networking is the most powerful tool in winning the culture war and winning elections. So creating spaces that are friendly to you, that believe in America. You can find a lot of these companies on Public Square. That's true. And we want to get a shop in every single strip mall in this country. So, when you come in, you buy a cup of coffee, what's on the wall? There's a TV. Who's it playing? You got Steven Crowder, you got Sticks, X and Hammer, you got Timcast IRL, you got the Daily Wire crew, whether you like them or not, but they're going to be up there and we're going to give people a different counter. We're going to give them the counter narrative so they can actually break through the mold. That's the point of Cast Brew. Support the work we're doing at castbrew.com. But don't forget to also go to timcast.com, click join us to support this show directly. Become a member because this show is made possible thanks mostly to viewers like you. Memberships really do keep the machine churning, which, again, we primarily use towards investing in cultural endeavors and just building culture. That's the mission. You'll also, as a member, get access to the uncensored members-only show tonight at 10 p.m. Not so family-friendly, and we got some crazy stories. Real dark stuff. I don't know that we can actually talk about on YouTube. And it's not so much a rules thing. It's I don't want it would get age restricted and it's not for kids, but we'll keep that to the members only because we got some real crazy stuff going on in the world today. But become a member, support our work, and you get access to the Discord server where you can network online. Discord is like a chat room for those that aren't familiar with it. You sign up, you log in if you're a member, then you're hanging out with everybody. They've got pre-shows, they've got after shows, tons of content, and people you should meet. Don't forget to also smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and everything else is Daniel Baldwin.
Tim, it's an honor to be on.
Who are you? What do you do?
Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's a big bucket list thing for me to come on the show. It's a big honor. I'm the elections correspondent for One American News, OAN. I primarily cover President Trump's campaign in his bid to win back the White House. In 2024, I had a bit of FOMO. I wish I was in Wisconsin, Green Bay. He had a big rally out there. Last night I couldn't because I was summoned for jury duty in the great state of Virginia. So I got stuck in D.C., so covered it a little bit remotely. But yeah, I'm primarily on the Trump campaign and covering everything to do with President Trump and his bid to win back the White House.
Do the jury duty. More people who believe in America need to be on juries.
I certainly agree.
Unquestionably. Right on. It should be fun. Thanks for hanging out. We got Chris Carr hanging out.
Chris Carr, I'm the executive editor for SCNR News. That's scannernews.com. Thanks for having me.
I love your shirt, dude.
Thank you.
Has the audience seen that yet? Yeah, if you get it, you get it.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
We can talk about it in detail at the members-only show.
Ian Crossland reporting in. I've got nothing to report except that you mentioned Sticks, Hexenhammer. He and Jeremy Hambley, the quartering, are now working together every Wednesday, I think at 5:30 Eastern. Sticks is his co-host And they did a show earlier today. So if you love those guys, check them out.
We'll have them on our TVs at the Casper locations.
That'll be great.
That's right.
Looking forward to it.
We'll get everybody.
Serge.
So what happens is some soccer mom comes in to grab a coffee, and as she's waiting for her iced frappuccino, or that might be owned by Starbucks, so iced frozen coffee drink, she's sitting there and she's in the TV, and there's an argument being made. There's someone doing a fact check, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And that's how we spread.
It's going to be
real news.
PBD and Chris Cuomo up on the TV. People will be like, "What is happening?"
Yeah. We'll get into it.
Yeah. Dickie Barrett went on Kimmel. They went back.
The
It's
Defiant.
like, man, it's time. It's a time of coming back together. Serge.
Yeah, I'm here. Let's just get into it.
All right, we're going to jump into that first story from the New York Times. Person infected with bird flu in Texas after contact with cattle. Here we go. It starts slowly. I remember when COVID first started, there were mutterings on Twitter about some mysterious illness in China, and people were collapsing in the street. YouTube they wouldn't ban you, but they would demonetize anyone who dared talk about it. It was the weirdest thing. And then all of a sudden it came to the US. You had people like Nancy Pelosi saying, "Come on down to Chinatown. Everything's fine. Don't worry about anything." And it was just so weird. Now we're getting these crazy stories. It's not just bird flu. We've got this. Daily Herald, 53 cases of measles recorded in city and the suburbs. This is Chicago. Then you've got tuberculosis in Chicago. So we've got all these diseases popping up. Bird flu is the scary one because this has a 56% mortality rate. The New York Times reports at least one person in Texas has been diagnosed with bird flu after having contact with dairy cows presumed to be infected, state officials said on Monday. The announcement adds a worrying dimension to an outbreak that has affected millions of birds and sea mammals worldwide, and most recently cows in the U.S. So far, there are no signs the virus has evolved in ways that would help it spread more easily among people, federal officials said. Now, what we're hearing from a lot of people, there's almost, I wonder if people are panicking a bit too much. There are certainly concerns about lockdowns. There have been concerns about lockdowns nonstop since campaign season started because Democrats need a way to beat Trump. Now, I don't know that lockdowns help them because Joe Biden's president, but there are certainly concerns they will try to do something. Even if the lockdown makes Biden look bad, it's what I said on Twitter, and a bunch of conservatives got mad. I said, elections are not about convincing people of anything. Elections are about collecting as many pieces of paper as possible that won't be signature verified. So if they were to be able to lock things down, if this fear does, expand, and I got to be honest, a 56% mortality rate, certainly something scary, then it will be a lot easier for them to ballot harvest, collect ballots, and it'll be a lot harder to do due diligence and pushing back against that.
Well, I'll be the first to say I'm more concerned about a lockdown than a flu. That's for sure. I'm more concerned that some stupid government would destroy their country as an overreaction. That's what I'm more concerned about. So don't do that.
I'm certainly concerned too, more so about the lockdown and anything. And Tim, I think you put it well. They're looking for a reason. They're looking for a way to help them beat Trump. They know they're trailing in the polls. It's obvious. Wall Street Journal came out with a new poll last night. Trump's beating Biden in six, like a drum, in 6 of the 7 different swing states. And it's not close right now. Biden has disapproval ratings in the 60%. So it's not going to materially change over the next few months, barring the course that he's on. So they need something different.
Well, I think this is the mistake that conservatives are making, is this argument about how do we effectively convince people of things, right? So the big issue right now is abortion. Donald Trump goes to Grand Rapids and the media is like, he dodged the abortion issue for now. Well, he was talking about immigration and stuff like that. I see a lot of conservatives who are like, don't tell Democrats what you actually want to do with abortion because then they won't vote for you. And I'm like, Democrats aren't trying to convince anybody of anything. Democrats are just figuring out ways to count more pieces of paper. That's it. Does anybody actually think Joe Biden convinced people to vote for him in 2020? Democrats were ballot harvesting en masse, and it's legal. And they did it in tons of places. They did it with the help of universal mail-in voting. They don't need to convince anybody of anything. Republicans can come out and say they want to give every American a chicken, and it wouldn't matter. Free chickens for everybody. It doesn't matter because all we have to do is go knock on a door. I'm like, the Democrats are going to go to Skid Row in LA, and they're going to be like, just sign it. And the homeless people are going to be like, whatever.
And it's like lifestyle in the cities and in the big cities and everywhere else are so different. Maybe the suburbs is a little bit more like the city, but in the country and in the city are almost like separate forms of governance are needed. And this has probably been a battle from the dawn of time about the central power in the city, all the sprawling land around that's being absorbed, taken control of, and taken advantage of. I'm sure they called them serfs at one point. They were like, let's figure out how to control these people better. Serfdom, we'll call it. You can't leave your land, but we'll make sure you don't get attacked. So it's stressful to try and balance this out because it's so easy to voter harvest in a city and get a bunch of people that don't want chickens, because you get a chicken in the city, you got to get rid of it immediately. It stinks.
Well,
there's no room for it.
Most cities have banned chickens.
And people out here need chickens, essentially want and need them to survive, to eat. Not necessarily, but some people, livestock is a big part of survival.
What is going on? Is there audio playing? Oh, there is audio playing of something.
Underneath what I was saying, it was like surging and getting bigger. Yeah, that's hot.
One of the things a lot of people are concerned about is that with the, they culled a bunch of chickens. Now they're saying cows are sick. We may in a few months start seeing shortages of food. You might start seeing certain services get shut down. Not everybody, but there's all this crazy conspiracy chatter about the eclipse coming up as if the apocalypse is about to happen. That will be Timcast IRL episode 999, by the way.
And someone point out it's 666 inverted. It's going to be crazy, man.
Jeez.
And then they said you were the Antichrist, but I think they were joking.
Me?
Yeah.
You?
Did Tim see that comment?
999.
And how would you handle seeing that comment? I don't know. It's just
Well, it's interesting that you guys mentioned about
be sure you don't become the Antichrist. Sorry.
the food that you talk about. The food we've heard the World Economic Forum cult talk about this global reset that we need to have with the food. We got to stop eating. We got to change the global food supply chain, moving away from beef, chicken, eggs, etc., moving towards plant-based, insect-based. We've seen China start buying up our farmland. This could provoke some questions of, could this affect our egg population? Could this skyrocket the process of eggs? And could this potentially expedite a process towards our food supply chain getting completely screwed up?
Part of me is concerned that everything we're paying attention to is the distraction. And whether Trump wins or doesn't win and fires people and does the thing we want to do, we are the chickens in the chicken coop while, what do we have? We have the chicken tender go out in the back and then yell, all the chickens go run over, then the other person can come in and change everything out while no one's paying attention. So we're sitting here saying like Trump must win. We really believe that's the most important thing. I certainly think it's important, but I'm wondering if the World Economic Forum cult is just like, oh, that doesn't matter at all. We are going to cut supply chains. We're going to strangle them out. We are going to infect dairy cows. Who knows?
Well, it's funny because Louisiana today, the Senate passed a bill saying that they are going to be, that the WEF, the World Economic Forum, United Nations, and the World Health Organization will have no jurisdiction or power within that state. So
yeah,
at least one state is declaring their independence from organizations like this. They're trying to monopolize power.
Wow. And why would they even feel like it's crazy that it's come to a point where they feel like they have to declare independence from a corporation or an unelected body.
Unelected international bureaucracy.
You are sovereign over them, just so you know. You're sovereign over yourself and your environment.
So they're making moves. At least one state is.
I mentioned last night the powers that be. I used that phrase, and Tim, you were like, I don't know about that powers that be thing, because it is like we're controlling reality in a sense right now with 40,000 people listening. How many people are hearing this? Are like, if we're like, okay, you want to disrupt the financial system? Command order. Like people would do that kind of thing. Like you can control society that way, not total control. So we are part of that power. That is. I'm just concerned that, like you're saying, behind the scenes, people are filing paperwork, moving things. They're disrupting trade routes. They're planning a transition into this new global corporate governance.
Like, I'll put it this way: do we care which rooster is elected to be the boss or whatever? So the chickens have a pecking order. The couple roosters are in there, and there's like a couple dozen girls, and then the roosters battle each other, and then one rooster asserts dominance, and then they break apart, right? And nobody here actually knows or cares. I mean, actually, we probably do know who's in charge. We think it's hilarious. You're so funny. We can do whatever we want. They can do nothing about it. Roberto can jump kick me when I walk in, and then I push him back, and it's meaningless to me. And so that's my concern when we're seeing stuff like this. We may be sitting here trying as hard as we can to push back against this machine, and they view us like livestock.
Sure. Well, we can do what we can control, and obviously these are really big questions, and I ask myself sometimes I got to take a step back. What can we control today? We can control working towards November 5th and getting Donald J. Trump back in that White House. That could be a first step towards taking down, as you called it, Ian, the powers that be and reshuffling that sort of pecking order in a sense, because these are all very big questions. We can start by pushing back on these fake narratives that the Biden campaign is pushing out and working towards getting that man back in office, because as he says, if he loses, I greatly question whether or not we will in fact have a country anymore. At least if he wins, we can start working towards that attainable goal.
I kind of feel like whether he wins or not, we will be in for some tumult, is one way to put it. If he wins, you're going to have blue states effectively in revolt. you're going to have international organizations and governments assisting those blue states in whatever way they can, depending on how serious things get. And if Trump loses, well, let's say Trump loses and all the Trump supporters just go, well, gosh darn it, I guess we lose. Okay, Democrats, do whatever you want. Okay, then the country dissolves instantly. Then it's intentionally destroyed.
100%. Big questions.
But dissolves into what exactly? Like a civil war situation or just...
No, I'm saying if Democrats win and we're just like, well, whatever, I guess, then the border disappears. Then crime is running rampant. It becomes Mad Max. It's gonna be Escape from New York. I mean, it almost already is.
Or a kind of sedated torture, like a fascist sedation. People are just in their pods getting their $400 a week, you know, to eat and be still and silent.
The crazy thing is, these liberals and these leftists say things like, New York's fine. What do you? There's barely crime. And you watch a video of a dude getting stabbed, a person getting shot in the subway. What they don't realize is that everything that their argument is, you go out in Times Square. Do you see anything? People are walking around. They're fine. Like, well, women are getting punched in the face, like all over the place. Yeah, but that's not even happening that much. There was, I think it was the Breakfast Club or whatever. They were interviewing Mayor Adams, and the woman was like, cops barely get killed in this state. You're exaggerating this rare thing, and civilians are dying. Dude, even in war, you can walk outside and people are going grocery shopping. When the Syrian civil war was in full swing, there was the Damascus Tourism Board was promoting coming to their nightclubs. And I'm at Vice, and we were like, we should go. How wild would it be to be in a nightclub in Damascus while on the other side of the country there's sarin gas attacks? And then we ultimately didn't do it. And then shortly after that, there was a sarin gas attack in Damascus, and we were like, wow, maybe you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
But imagine walking outside in Damascus, cars are driving, people are going grocery shopping and being like, nothing's wrong.
Oh, yeah, you
everything's
can't
fine.
take Times Square in the middle of the day is not the dangerous part of New York. I mean, there might be, maybe. Look for the dark alleys on like 67th Street and like 4th Avenue or whatever it's called. I think it's 4th Avenue.
It's funny, ever since these progressive left prosecutors who ran on getting Trump in New York got put into office, since 2019, crime rates have skyrocketed. So they may say like, oh, murder may have dipped 1% from 2022 to 2023. But ever since 2019 to the end of 2023, murder's up 23% in New York. Robbery is up 27%. Felony assault is up 35%. Burglary is up 30%. And auto theft, guess how much, Tim? Guess how much, Ian? Guess how much, Chris? Nearly 200%.
Whoa!
All according to the New York Post.
That's from 2019 to 2023?
Yes, according to the New York Post.
Did they make certain things not illegal anymore like they did in California where they're like, hey, crime's down because we made it illegal to steal?
Quite possibly.
I want to jump to the story from the Post-Millennial, and I want to explain this to you. Oregon makes drug possession a crime after decriminalization failed to curb drug crisis. And I was watching The Five because Greg Gutfeld is the best, and the rest of the people on there are okay. Jesse's number 2. Or Judge Jeanine, she's great. I like that show. Anyway, I don't think they quite understand what's going on here. You see, the surface level assessment of what's happening in Oregon is, Democrats decriminalized drugs, it didn't work, and now they're forced to backtrack. And they, I think Jesse asked Judge Jeanine if they had enforced vagrancy laws and things like that, and this was mostly people in their homes doing their own thing, would it have worked? She says, no, of course not. I'll tell you what this actually is. Why did Democrats decriminalize drugs? I call it infiltrate, destroy, rebuild. Shout out to CKY, by the way. But they come in, they say, we're going to decriminalize all these drugs. They get in power. They say, we're doing this great thing to help everyone, destroying everything, driving out businesses, shutting down mom and pop shops. And then once everything's been destroyed, they turn the switch back on, banning the drugs once again, but now they can take over and rebuild.
That is interesting way to look at it, if to think of it as malicious, which it might be in some instances. I've always thought of it as like a failed attempt at what they were doing in Portugal. In Portugal, they decriminalized drugs. But what they did in Portugal is they created this environment of rehabilitation where people could go and get clean. And they don't have that. They never did that in Oregon.
You would go to a dedicated place where they would give you limited drugs or clean methods. Here, they're like, nah, you can just go on the street and do whatever you want.
And they were, and that's what was happening. And I mean, it became a mess.
During the COVID lockdowns, Bill de Blasio was talking about buying buildings that had been basically destroyed by the lockdowns economically destroyed, and turning them into public housing. Look where we are now. They've turned these luxury hotels into migrant shelters. It is infiltrate, destroy, rebuild. They go in through economic crises and failed policies. We go, oh, these Democrats are so dumb. Why are they doing this? Haha, their policies backfired on them. Didn't backfire on them. They intentionally wanted to gut the economy so they could buy. It's RoboCop.
It's like economic hitman model.
They come in. They destroy everything. Their buddies buy up the properties for pennies on the dollar. Then they turn the law back on, clean up the streets. But now they've shifted ownership away from the original generational wealth to newcomers.
Ooh, I'd like to see how much BlackRock bought in Oregon in the last 4 years.
100%. And there's actually an article on the Washington Examiner that came out on March 25th, and the title is How Blue Cities Are Making Crime Illegal Again. Right to your point there, right then and there, Tim, adding a little bit of credence to exactly what you're saying right then and there. And it's funny because a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, if you walk onto Union Station in Washington, D.C., trying to take a train to New York or wherever you're going, it was tent city. You couldn't walk 2 feet without seeing homeless people everywhere. I took a train back up to New Jersey to go home for Easter. I didn't notice as many tents out there as I normally did, potentially adding a little bit more credence to what you're saying.
I'm not saying in every circumstance it is quite literally a let's burn this down and then rebuild it for ourselves. But boy, does it certainly feel that way. And if we keep operating under the premise that Democrats keep slipping on banana peels, we're not going to see it coming when their buddies come and buy up these properties. I mean, you look at New York. De Blasio was saying during the COVID lockdowns, oh, the property values are destroyed. The businesses have been wiped out. No one's paying rent. Now we can buy these buildings for pennies on the dollar. It's intentional.
It has to be.
And I'm saying not in every circumstance, at least there, the dude was literally saying what he was intending to do.
And now we're seeing, we also that the Venezuelan migrant influencer who encouraged squatting now being under investigation. Watching Fox News today, all they were talking about was migrant squatting right then and there. Migrants going into your home, living there without you necessarily knowing, taking advantage without paying rent, without paying food, groceries. And that type of problem right then and there also speaks to a lot of different issues that Americans today are facing. High economic issues, large amounts of illegal immigration. You were talking about illegal migrants taking up resources in cities like New York. And now all of this is coming together into this issue of squatting that we're seeing in some of these big cities like Manhattan as well.
Yeah, along these lines, it's making me think of George Gascon, who I covered when I was in LA. And it was interesting because like after he actually got elected into office, he would talk about all the policies that he implemented on day one that were very destructive. And within several months, people started to see the after effects of these policies. And, you know, there were prisoners being released. There was one prisoner in particular, I can't remember his name, but he shot a cop, killed a cop, then he walked over and shot the cop in the badge, and then he was looking at like much decreased jail time. The cop's widow was one of the only people out there saying this is crazy what's happening, and a lot of people were saying that George Gascon was running on false policies, and I was just like, I'm going to look into this and see if that's really the case. And I found an interview that he did, and he said, I did not lie about what I was going to do. I told you exactly what I was going to do. I told you throughout the campaign. You look at his campaign website, every single policy that he implemented, he said beforehand. So sometimes they just say it out loud.
Would he say stuff like, I'm going to make I'm going to give you like social justice. And then,
Yes.
But what he would do is release prisoners. So
No.
he didn't tell you the specifics. He just gave you the idea of what
He was very specific.
intention?
He was just like, we have to create racial equity in this city, and we have to do it with A, B, and C. And then he would do that. And then people would be outraged, and he would say, no, I told you what I was running on. You elected me, and now I'm going to do exactly what you elected me to do.
I think there's too many people to govern at this point. That's why self-governance is so important and why the United States has thrived like it has. Because if a guy is governing and creating the rules of your system and you don't even know it, that's a big problem. There's a big flaw in the system if the guy who's dishing out the orders is not getting heard. So that can't stand. It can't stand. It won't function.
Well, actually, the governor of Oregon, she says that one of the reasons that this policy didn't work is because she says we need the ability to implement partners to commit to deep coordination at all levels. Courts, state police, law enforcement, defense attorneys. She's basically saying that they just didn't have the coordination to make this thing work, and now they have to undo it.
They didn't have
The
the coordination.
coordination
That's what
to
she said.
allow people to do drugs and be vagrants.
Deep coordination at all levels is what they needed, and they didn't have it.
They did
so
have
now they have to walk it
piss
back.
poor coordination in that they didn't have rehabilitation for the people. They just let them lay around on the street. That was a poorly executed, planned operation.
I mean, look, Joe Biden was recently saying, you know, if Donald Trump didn't stop this bill, I'd shut the border down right now, which is an insane lie. It's crazy listening to this guy rant. There's this viral video, I don't know if you guys saw it, where this guy's like, Donald Trump was in Grand Rapids and the police were behind him. And he's screaming. I'm like, there are people who live in Democrat world, and it's terrifying that they do, because they're blinded by rage. And it's like, it's a cult.
It's a cult.
It's a cult, man. And the funny thing is, the people in this cult call everyone else a cult. It's like, wow.
It's all projection.
It's remarkable how Democrats really have just wrapped the brains of these people and tied a knot. Like they say, all these Trump supporters are in cults. And it's like my favorite example of, you want to know how you know you're not in the cult? Okay, when Dave Smith, the libertarian, is arguing on Fox News, or he's on Kennedy, and they go, oh, you Trump supporters are all the same, defending Donald Trump. And he goes, I don't like Donald Trump. I criticize him all the time. But the only thing these people can default to is, you must be a Trump supporter. No, that's because you're in a cult. You, sir, you're in a cult. How do you break them out? You got to turn their phones off. It used to be that when someone was in a cult, you remove them from the cult and start to like expose them to the real world. But now the problem is they have a phone and they're glued to it through their social media following.
They're Keith Olbermann's, they're Rachel Maddow's, the MSNBCs of the world. And you mentioned Biden saying, yeah, if it wasn't for Donald Trump stopping the border amnesty bill, which it really is, I would shut the border down right now.
The Ukraine funding bill with a little bit of amnesty.
Yeah, a tad bit of, sprinkle the amnesty in there. From the Federalist today, actually, Joe Biden has let in nearly the same amount of illegal foreign citizens that Ellis Island accepted legally in 60 years. Wow. Between 1892 and 1954, perhaps the height of the melting pot Americanization, more than 12 million illegal U.S. immigrants came through Ellis Island. And then, of course, the Washington Times had a report out last week saying there have been about 13.7 million illegal aliens that have come in under Joe Biden's watch. And that's not accounting for gotaways, which, of course, we can account for. But, of course, they're newcomers.
Did you say it was 13 million legal immigrants?
I believe it was illegal. I could double check that.
That's over a 60-year period. There were 13 million
illegal.
No,
colonists. Call them colonists.
Between 1892 and 1954, more than 12 million legal U.S. immigrants came through Ellis Island, according to the Federalist.
And we're kind of
colonizers.
Yeah, we're not I'm not necessarily, I can't speak for the entire United States, but I don't think we're in the same place as a nation that we were 100 years ago, where we needed to import all these people. We don't need like the industrial worker load that we needed back in the day. Now we have too many, you could argue, unemployed people that aren't healthy enough to, or they're just not being utilized properly.
I disagree. I'm actually a big fan of immigration. Hannah Claire and I have this debate. I think we want to import all of the high skill workers from every possible place we can. There's a process for that. They got to apply. They have to prove that they're high skill workers, because we want to brain drain everyone else. Imagine there are two companies, right? And you've got the top talent at one company. You're trying to poach them. You're like Coke and Pepsi. Coke wants the best guy from Pepsi. Pepsi wants the best guy from Coke.
100%.
Now imagine if instead Pepsi was like, if you have a high-ranking position at Coke, come to us. We'll offer you a 10% increase on your salary. And then Coke goes, if you're a janitor or you work in the mailroom, come to us, and we'll just pay you for free. It's like, oh, wait. One's a business strategy. One's just giving money away. So what we have now is unfettered criminal invasion is destructive to a country. Balanced immigration through for high-skilled workers and even people of high net worth is good for a country. So this is what the Democrats try to do. They say immigration is great. The workers will come and they'll help and their jobs. No. That makes sense if the person's like an engineer. We get a lot of like Google brings in a lot of immigrants from India and stuff like that. You bring in someone who's a specialist, can't do any other job, that I can understand. It shouldn't ever be allowed to displace an American worker. And that is actually one of the requirements for the, what are those the visas? The H whatever visa. The problem we're dealing with now is when you have people coming in through Ellis Island, it's not a question of we needed them or didn't. It's that these were working families. They wanted to integrate. They believed in America. Many of them went on to create businesses and get jobs in a very different country. Today, you have people who are like, I miss Buffalo Wild Wings. That's a quote. I miss my PlayStation. And they're breaking through the border. They're working with cartels. Children are being sold into sex trafficking. We're talking about malevolent evil crossing our border.
I could see an argument if we needed low skill labor. Like if it was maybe not unethical to do just to use foreigners and pay them less under the table, but if we needed that right now, literally you do it. You do what you need to do to survive, but we don't need that right now. So the purpose is beyond me.
Yeah, it's the destruction of this country.
And language is so important. Like it's so important the way you talk about these things, because when you listen to the radical left right now, they will never ever distinguish between legal and illegal. It's always just immigrants.
What's the story of the Tower of Babel?
The Tower of Babel.
Wasn't it they built a tower so high that they were punished, so they all babbled and couldn't speak to each other anymore?
I think they wanted to,
because when they were able to speak the same language, basically the idea was that they could accomplish anything. You know, like literally the sky is the limit. Like they could just build that tower up to heaven. But that's why God confused their language, and everybody just had to go into their little clans. And
you know what infuriates me more than anything? Netflix and Amazon. I tweeted Amazon, but people said Netflix does it too, and I'm like, well, I don't use Netflix all that often. I don't have Netflix, but other people here do. I go on Amazon, and it's like I have a Shudder. So if you know what Shudder is, the horror channel.
Right.
And there's a movie, and it'll be called like When the Devil Arrives. And I'm like, oh, what's this? And then it says like Janet opens a door in her basement, and a demon comes through. And I'm like, all right, and I play it. And then all of a sudden it's like, blah, 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 blah. And then the guy walks in, blah, 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 and I'm like, whoa. It didn't say foreign film, off. And then I go through like 4 or 5 movies, and none of them are in English. And my problem with this, there are people who are like, learn to read subtitles, Tim. When I'm turning on a hokey horror film, it's because I'm hanging out, playing Scrabble, and I want a show on in the background. And if I'm looking at my phone or I'm doing work and the movie's playing in the background, I can periodically glance up and I can listen to the words that are being said that I understand. But now it's all cosmopolitan, no more English. And ultimately what it comes down to go back to why it really matters, why I'm telling the anecdote is, if in this country, language continues to fracture, as we are seeing, then people can't communicate with each other.
Dude,
they can't coordinate with each other.
I see the inverse too now, this Tower of Babel metaphor. Like I was bullish on English, global English. We need it. I still think we need it we need a common language on Earth. Like in Dungeons and Dragons, you have common. That would be English. Everyone speaks common, and then you get your local language as well. The danger of having only one language is that if someone wants to change the definition of one of the words, you have no reference. The definition of the word terror gets changed. All the law gets changed. There's no outside reference to be like, well, terror meant this word, and this word in this language. So adding that definition to it, doesn't jive. You can't change it. It doesn't fit the net. So having only one language that's probably what happened in Babel is they relied on one language and then it got corrupted. I could see that happening. I don't know much about the story.
That's so funny because when you think about law and like legal work, that's why definitions are so important, and you need to understand what the technical definition of a word was. And it reminds me of the bloodbath hoax. According to Merriam-Webster, part of the definition of bloodbath is an economic disaster. So it's important to understand what definitions actually are. And when you're speaking to people, it's just very important that we have that common understanding. But like what I was talking about with the legal and illegal immigration, the left will never say the word illegal. Now it's newcomers, as we've learned. And of course, I believe it was last week, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer launched that new subsidy program in Michigan that incentivizes landowners to take in these newcomers to increase Michigan's population of newcomers. Of course, I believe she gives them about $500. Not a good look considering what's happening in her state, of course. But again, it just heightens the importance of it. Almost feels like we're not talking about the same thing because we're not half the time.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, the assault on language, even the English language is, widespread too. Man, woman, male, female. It's really bad.
It makes a lot of sense tactically from the enemy's perspective of how you would influence the greatest, most powerful military country on earth. You got to get their culture.
That's right.
You got to disrupt their understanding of themselves.
Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Isn't that the phrase?
Yeah, but in regards to what?
In regards to simply changing language, you were talking about man, woman, slightly, ever so slightly, beginning to alter the definitions of certain things. It might be a word, it might be a letter, it might be something, but slowly but surely, you'll wake up and be like, oh my God, they've gained 50 yards on us. They're
Citizen.
in our opponent, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Citizen is the next word. So, what is? Let me pull up the 14th Amendment, and we'll get this one for you, because I think this is the next big play. It'll take some time, but I do believe this is they're going to be their play. 14th Amendment, Section 3, I believe. Is it Section 3? No, it's Section 1, I think. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States, and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, property. Already, they're calling illegal immigrants undocumented citizens because they're trying to change the definition of the word. They're going to say things like, my immigrants are citizens. They're going to say, what does citizen even mean? It's a person who lives here. It's a resident of a country. They're citizens. What do you think it means? Blah, blah, blah. Then we're going to come to the point where there will be a lawsuit filed. Take a look at how the Supreme Court handled the gender identity thing. They said, because the Civil Rights Act covers sex as a protected class, gender identity is naturally a component of that. Therefore, gender identity is protected under the Constitution. And then now all of these states are passing these bills and these laws, and following it as such. We are going to get to the point where they will say undocumented citizen over and over and over again. Then you'll get Fox News saying it, because they all do this. The AP will say the new guidelines for all reporters to use the phrase undocumented citizen, and then there will be a lawsuit. And it will say it is unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment to deny undocumented citizens the right to vote. And the Supreme Court's going to go, well, it says here, no state shall make or enforce any law which abridges the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. And undocumented citizens are citizens despite not having proper documentation. So therefore, it does follow that we cannot deny undocumented citizens the right to vote. Then what are they going to do? How do you verify the person's an undocumented citizen? They'll have to create something. They'll grant them voting numbers or Social Security numbers for which they can vote. That's a big move they're playing right now. And that's why they try to control language.
Well, you mentioned the AP style guide, Tim, and when you're in journalism school, I went to Syracuse for graduate school, and you're taught that the AP style guide, that's the holy grail. When you were taught to adhere to that, no matter what. But when you look at the AP's reporting, just as an example, a headline from yesterday regarding President Trump stops in Michigan and Wisconsin, the title reads, quote, "What we know, Trump uses death of Michigan woman to stoke fears over immigration." So the AP is supposedly this straight and narrow, non-biased organization, yet I don't know. I watched both of those speeches. I don't think that's the headline to take away.
This is the first I've heard of the Associated Press style book.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So you go to college and then they're like, hey, you're a journalism major.
It's a Bible. It's you were given that and you learn it, you get quizzed on it, you get tested on it, and you're supposed to use different things, and they alter it from year to year and they update it. And they do things like that, and you were specifically told to adhere to this.
Do they violate their own style book, or do they just change it and then
They change it.
Well, I mean, a headline like this is just editorialized. I mean, it starts off with what we know. Who's we? Like, I mean, why would you have that in a headline? That sounds like an op-ed, you know? But despite whatever goofiness that they inject throughout their updated Bibles, you know, it is still kind of the gold standard for journalism. I mean, it's what I reference all the time. It's what I use to build our own style guide. You just have to make sure that you ignore the stuff that is more editorial and ideologically driven.
have you noticed a lot of that appearing in the style book in the last decade?
The last copy that I have, I think, is about 4 years old. And
Lowercase white and uppercase black.
that was in there.
Yeah.
That was in there.
Like that's how you got to report on those
When
words in
referring to
public?
white people, you make it lowercase. When referring to black people, you make it uppercase.
And it's
You
weird.
capitalize black, and
Yeah.
why?
I
know.
don't know why they capitalize the word God when they type it. Same question. What were you gonna say?
No, literally not.
Well, they're
the same
giving
question.
reverence to
What?
the word. That's what they're doing. They're deifying that word if they're making it capital while you type it.
No,
It's either that or a
because-
legal thing.
Because there's the proper and then there's the improper. There's a God and then there's God. They're different things.
But that is interesting.
It's like
You're-
if a guy's name is John and then someone else is going to meet a prostitute, you don't capitalize a John, but John you do capitalize. That's not reverence. That's
Well,
a name versus a thing.
But it kind of is a reverential deification move to capitalize the B in black.
Right.
Right? So, I mean, yeah, that's an interesting
That is an
observation.
assertion above. That
Yes.
that serves
Yeah.
no purpose other than to say white is a generic descriptive term, but black is a special privileged thing.
Does it give it? Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, this is just an aside. This is why it's a nightmare when we're trying to report on something that involves race or racism, and we have to use quotes from progressive goofballs because their quotes will have black capitalized, and our style guide is like, we're not going to do, black capitalized. So you got this weird juxtaposition to where
Put
we're
in
not.
brackets.
Well, I guess we could, but according to AP style guidelines, and I like this, is that you never alter a quote unless you absolutely must do it for the sake of the reader. So that's why we don't do that.
Yeah.
SIC, meaning that they misspelled it, and you know they misspelled it.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not misspelling it really. It's not an error.
You can put an asterisk and at the bottom put the capitalization is an ideological move made by the left.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, that's true.
Is it true?
Yes,
It is. Yeah. I mean, how else do you justify it? It's not proper English.
No, it's literal. It's literal critical race theory.
Yeah.
Oppressed and oppressors.
Yeah. There you
White
go.
must be lowercase. Black must be uppercase.
It got into the AP, dude, and that's
Well,
the
of
gold
course.
standard of journalism.
The AP.
Their style guide is, but their reporting is gone off the rails like most
But
news reporting organizations.
There are different ethics in journalism. It's not just the AP style guide. There's SPJ and there's AP and Reuters. I believe they'll have their ethics, don't they? Like
AP style, the style guide that I have does have an ethical section and
right, and then but then Reuters has their own ethics,
probably,
and
yeah.
then was it the Society for Professional Journalists or something like that? SPJ
Something of the sort.
probably.
have their own ethics. And the funny thing is, we've been talking about doing this nonprofit for a while, and it's insane to try and run. That's the problem. Like, we're trying to get the filings. The idea for the nonprofit is to create an app that would take a sampling of 100 articles from a news organization, and then have a team of journalists go through those articles, checking for violations of standard journalistic ethics. We would likely use SPJ's ethics. These are things like minimize harm. Okay, I guarantee 80%, okay, I'm exaggerating, but a large portion of articles written by the New York Times maximize harm. So what does it mean to minimize harm? Okay, if there is literally no reason to report a person's name because they're not a public figure, you don't do it. So if there was a news story where it was like there was a criminal trial and there were people who were very upset over what was going on and they were protesting outside. Let's say Ian was there and he was defending the guy who was on trial. Maximizing harm would be to say one individual, Ian Crossland, who resides at this address, was defending this violent criminal, saying that he was innocent, and in shocking statements that offended everybody and detested most decent-hearted Americans. Okay, you're maximizing harm when you're doing that. You don't need to tell anybody the guy's name or where he lives. When CNN threatened that guy who made the CNN meme with Trump, that if he kept doing this, they'd dox him. That's like beyond maximizing harm. That is like outright directly threatening a person. So the idea we had was, if we went through for factual errors, inserting opinion, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things, and failure to minimize harm, you'd probably find that like the New York Times would get what we would do is we'd take 100 articles. We would then list all of the articles that were reviewed, and they would explain exactly where the journalistic violation was. I'd imagine New York Times would get like a 60%. MSNBC would get probably a 0. They'd probably get like a 1. And I mean on like their news segments, which is all be 0. If it's labeled opinion, then it's there's no worry. If someone says it's an opinion, here's how I feel, that's fine. You're allowed to do that. But like Washington Post, for instance, would probably get like a 13 out of 100. Almost all of their articles are loaded with misleading information, out of context information.
Do they have the fourth estate, the journalistic integrity? What we're supposed to have is the journalist in like China or in Belgium, or do they have it in other countries like that work with the World Economic Forum, places that go to adopt like Germany? Do they have a free press? Is that something that exists in these other countries?
Every one of these countries claims they have a free press,
and ours is supposedly the freest, and we know it's not
supposedly.
Free. Okay, so then the whole world's probably working to.
I would ask some of the conservative journalists at the White House how free the press is right now. I think they would have a different.
Dude, Peter Doocy looks like he's about to crap his pants and because he feels like he's going to get thrown out for making the wrong sound. It's so sad to watch because he's asked legit questions. If he provides a little too much pushback, I've never seen them be like, get out. But they have that authority.
I got to be honest. Like, shout out to Doocy. He's rad. But those meetings are completely pointless.
It's like he's afraid. It's like, but don't you? But I mean,
who cares about the opinion of Karine Jean-Pierre?
It's supposed to be the president's opinion,
not,
and
though.
She's telling us that's what people care about. Yeah,
they're so painful to watch.
Yeah, they're fake.
Yeah,
it's just they're just wastes of time. Everybody knows. The press conference should literally be the president coming out, and it should be less frequent, but that's what it should be.
Yeah, and maybe even on like a digital, like you could have him answering 6 people's questions, 6 citizens that got selected to ask a question on Zoom. Doesn't have to be on Zoom. It's some digital platform. It could happen a lot more frequently too. It could happen like an hour a day.
I mean, remember in 2020 how often President Trump came out and he directly spoke to. Could you imagine? Do you remember the last time Biden spoke? I believe it. You could correct me if I'm wrong. The last time that sticks in my mind that he spoke without his handlers to the press was after Robert Hur's special counsel report, and that was when he called the president of Egypt the president of Mexico of some sort while defending his mental acuity. They know that he can't do it. They know his brain is mashed potatoes.
Well, you saw the report about ESPN anchor Sage Steele today. She talked about how
let's pull that up.
every single question in her Biden interview, they said, you will say every word that we write out. You will not deviate from the script.
Yeah.
The entire thing was scripted.
Let's pull this up. We have the story from the New York Post. Ex-ESPN host reveals every single question in Biden interview was scripted by network executives. Sage Steele revealed that her interview with Biden shortly after he took office in March 2021 was scripted by executives at Disney, at the Disney-owned network. Steele, who was sidelined by ESPN later that year after she criticized the company's COVID vaccine mandate and made controversial comments about the former President Barack Obama, told Fox News that she was beholden to a structured interview. It was very much, this is what you will ask, this is how you will say it, no follow-ups, next. Steele told Fox, adding that each question was gone over dozens of times by many editors and executives. My friends, you are quite literally living in a weekend at Bernie's style presidency government. Joe Biden, okay, he may not be deceased, but he is so close to it, he can see through the veil. And you've got people telling someone's going to Disney and saying, you will say these questions. The whole thing will be scripted. It's performative. Remember when Biden was in the fake White House? They kept having him on the sound stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
All throughout like the beginning of his presidency, he would go to a different set and everyone acted like it was normal.
He wasn't actually in the White House. He was on a set, a sound stage.
So it looked like the White House. Like it could have at least looked cool, like a set. Would have been fine.
So weird.
Yeah, but I mean, I believe in the back to the press briefing. I don't believe Karine Jean-Pierre called on a reporter beyond the fourth row today.
Really? Is that?
And that's a normal occurrence. A very, very normal occurrence.
How many reporters get in there and then how many get called on?
I don't know how many get in there. All I can speak to is our chief White House correspondent, Monica Page, has not been called on once since she's moved out here. She's been here for about 10 months or so.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
There's no cycling. People don't get moved to the front every week. You don't get your week up front or any of that.
No. Yeah, I don't believe we've gotten a single question in a press briefing since the Biden administration took over.
And I got to be honest, as much as we like Ducey asking these questions, I don't think Fox News is fairly legit. They got some good people. Gutfeld, I mentioned, he's pretty great. But, Fox News has had some questionable reporting as well. Everybody knows. So
the way they fired Tucker kind of
that's exactly it.
made me think.
And so when it comes to Ducey, the White House tolerates these questions, and they're questions that they can give some answer to. And then they throw red meat to conservatives and to anti-establishment people, and then what?
I mean, he's the best controlled opposition we have in the White House press room, I think.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I mean, that's the impression that I get when I see his questions.
Controlled
It's just
op.
like, okay, where is this really going to take us?
Because he really cares too, and he's just strangled, not literally strangled. He's controlled. He's cuffed basically. I was picturing like bindings on his arms, and he's like, I can only ask so much, or you're going to throw me out, and I know it.
Of course, he can't deviate. He can ask the run-of-the-mill scripted talking point, and he can't go beyond it. I mean, there's 1,000,001 questions you could ask that'll get you thrown out of that room.
Well, it's funny, too, because occasionally he'll depart from Marine One, which is, the helicopter, and there's always videos of him kind of doing the Biden shuffle,
We're talking about Joe.
Yeah,
Joe.
the jogging Joe. He's moving with vigor, He's healthy, he's young, he's with it, he's mentally fit. I mean, the Wall Street Journal poll that I referenced earlier, it showed that voters in swing states believe that Trump has a massive lead when it comes to cognitive fitness and physical fitness. Obviously, I mean, you mentioned weekend of Bernie's, weekend of Biden's.
It's kind of wild, too, because Trump's a big dude.
Big dude.
He's a big dude. He's tall, but he's kind of thick, you know what I'm saying? He has lost weight, though. I got to give him credit for
yeah.
that.
And, I mean, I've never seen a dude with the energy that man has.
It is pretty
Never.
crazy.
It is
It's
crazy.
wild. He doesn't drink, though.
No, he doesn't.
No drinking, no drugs, but a lot of fast food, I hear.
Oh, yeah. I mean, who doesn't like a Big Mac every now and then?
I don't. I mean, I'll be real. Like, fast food tastes great, but I will not go anywhere near it.
Yeah,
That'll make you feel good the next day.
I'm going full Luke Rutkowski, but like real Luke Rutkowski.
Yeah, like
And
no seed oils.
That's where I don't eat seed oils, But like, not only do I say I don't, but I actually don't.
Yep.
Whereas like Luke will say he does it and then sneak a Big Mac.
Oh, of course. A little cheat day. A little
He's
cheat
listening
day.
right now. I can tell.
Yeah, down-
He's like, I do not, you son of a bitch.
No. He was in the green room and he was hiding his Big Mac.
Oh, my.
Gross.
Busted.
Tell me you didn't eat the bread.
Little under, yeah.
No,
Little underneath the table.
okay, but in all seriousness,
He's
I think
pretty
it's
good.
I think like having a Big Mac every now and then, like you
You
know,
gotta treat yourself.
exactly. You cheat sometimes
As long as you can control it and have one, because that candida, which lives off of sugar, that will try and control you to eat more of it. You gotta be real careful. with that
Really,
stuff.
it's not even the Big Mac; it's their special sauce, Mac sauce. You know.
Well, you were mentioning earlier this week and one of your shows earlier this week, Tim, we were talking about depression, especially among like younger people, and you brought up a good point. You mentioned like just get your butt in the gym. You start sweating, start moving cardio, start lifting weights. It's a natural way to feel better about yourself and boost your self-esteem. And eating healthy is such a big part of that too.
It's not even the gym. I mean, just like go for a walk, 15 minutes. If you don't do any exercise, just start walking for 10, 15 minutes a day.
The eating
Walk
healthy is
around the block.
awesome because it doesn't hurt. It stops hurting as much and it starts to feel good. Like you can tell you're not like you only got sugar in your body. Like, there's just it feels like stuff's gonna snap more likely. I don't know. I feel much more like put together on a good diet.
Yeah, you naturally have more energy. You naturally feel better about yourself. And you said just going for a walk. You eat a big dinner. Nothing feels better than getting off the couch, going outside, getting some fresh air, and walking for like half a mile.
You know,
it moves the digestive system. It gets everything going.
But bringing it back to Trump, you know, this comes back to here's a guy, and a lot of people were surprised to see like when he started this when he kicked off the 2024 campaign, he looked thin. There was that one photo, everyone's like, wow, but he still is a big dude. But let's talk about this. Joe Biden does the shuffle you mentioned, where you watch him, he tries to walk like he's capable of walking. The dude must be in agony. Just sheer agony because he's walking like his leg is broken and he's trying to act. You ever see a cat get injured? Cats pretend like they're not injured because in the wild, it's like an instinct thing where they don't want any predator to see them weak. So even when they're injured, they're walking, but like in extreme pain. That's what Biden looks like. Trump looks fine. There's like a video of him bouncing a golf ball and he's like playing golf.
This says, according to his August 25th, 2023 surrender to the Fulton County Jail, he's 6'3" and 215 pounds.
There's
Which is
no way.
Which is nearly
he's
30
215.
pounds. It says it's 30 pounds lighter than his disclosed weight at the time of his last official White House physical.
There's no way he's 215. But
He doesn't look 215.
No, he's tall. How tall is he? Like
About
6'3"?
6'3".
6'3".
Yeah. Wow.
6'3" alone is going to
He
put you
towers
at
over
200.
me. I'm 5'9".
Yeah. Trump being 6'3" is going to put him at 200 already. And then he's kind of a bigger dude. So 215, no way.
I could
But I
see
mean,
it.
like
yeah.
what, like 230?
He's in pro athlete
I don't know.
shape.
Yeah. I love when the Trump supporters make the comics of him and he's always ripped.
Oh yeah, got one hung up in my parents' house. Him with the boxing gloves on.
Right.
I think the Trump campaign is actually selling merchandise. A big thing that he did in Wisconsin last night is he actually brought up a podium to his right, and he starts off. He's like, "You might notice there's a podium to my right, and it's empty. That's for Joe Biden. I'm trying to get him to debate. Nobody knows where he is. Wow. Anybody, any place, any time." Trump would run laps around this guy mentally, physically, from a policy perspective. So that's a big thing. And I believe the Trump campaign is actually beginning to sell some merchandise that espouses this as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just like what they're going to be saying about this era in 100 years? They're going to be like, Trump supporters waved these flags, and it's Trump on a velociraptor with a machine gun.
But Donald Trump, we all remember, and it'll be like him super ripped, and everybody will have the memory of him being just physically fit.
There's
in his old
something
age.
happened to humanity where the sense of humor just went off the charts in the 1900s. Like, you know, what was humor 100 years ago? Puns 200 years ago? Very simple. Now it's like Donald Trump won and saved the republic, and here's how the supporters celebrated. And they show, like, you go to a museum and there's like Trump with boxing gloves all
Like a
ripped.
picture of Pepe with Trump's hair, like just a green frog head.
And we're laughing about it. It's kind of crazy because like we get left behind these great quotes from the founding fathers and like Blackstone's formulation. And then Benjamin Franklin says, no, it should be that 100 guilty persons escape. It is better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. And we're like, wow, thought provoking, brilliant. I'm going to post a meme of Trump fighting squirrels. And that's what our generation's doing.
It makes me feel like the ship is sinking and people are just looting it with comedy memes. It's sad. It really disturbs me. And this is deep down. I think about this quite a lot. Is like why are we not like the founding fathers? Why are we not building a constitution for the internet? We have the Manila Principles. We can pivot off of that thing and build some globally. We can do it, but why have I not? Why have I just played video games and made fun of stuff?
Because we are chickens, and they have put us in a chicken coop.
It feels like that. I'll write it. I'll be like, hello, humanity. Here's the answer. Use it. And they'll be like, we've got other money to make right now. And then maybe in 70 or 80 years, they'll be like, what did we do wrong? And they'll go through the files and be like, oh, this was what we should have done. Maybe.
This was a big mess up. This was a big mess up.
Think about what wild dogs are like. You know? No, a wolf. You see a pack of wolves out in the wilderness, you're in trouble. They're going to be independent. They're on their own. They're hunting. They know what they're doing. And they're not going to take orders from you. Now look at dogs. Doofy little man's best friend. Dog runs up to you, doesn't even know who you are, and he loves you. So it is, in essence, a political domestication. You create this system where you infantilize, you strip them of the generational knowledge, so parents aren't passing down anything to their kids anymore. Kids are being taken from the parents and put in institutions. They're not learning what the parents have to offer them, and they're effectively becoming puppy dogs for the state. It is a, you know, I read this thing once about the domestication of dogs, and it's really fascinating how it happened. Basically, the humans who, there's something called flight time. This is the distance between a human and an animal where the animal will flee. Wolves that had a lower flight time were more likely to survive because human refuse, they could eat the human refuse, the waste from the tribes in the camps. Humans that had a lower flight time for the wolves were more likely to survive because the wolves pissing around the camps would keep other predators away. So it created a pressure system where there were lower instances of humans fighting with wild animals or encountering hungry bears and even wolves because it would keep other wolves away. And for the wolves, they had a higher supply of food. Eventually, over thousands of years, you end up with humans and wolves working together, which you get proto-dogs, pre-dogs. And then the humans realized these wolves are tracking some animal. The humans had tools that could take it down super quick. Everybody got to eat. Success. What I was reading about this was that effectively what humans had done was turned the wolves into permanent puppies. The way dogs act is the way wolf cubs act. They're playful, they're silly, they're loving, they're doofy. Then they grow up, get older, and become tough and more resolved, and they have to survive. It's more difficult. Dogs never do. Dogs remain effectively as wolf cubs their whole lives, doofy and happy because you take care of them forever. That's effectively what's happening to us. Infantilized, dependent on the state, cut from our roots, cut from our moral traditions, and now you have wokeness, which is the purest form of that. The state knows all, the state does all, you must adhere to the state, do not defy our edict.
And then you'll get like domesticated dog packs in countries where there's too many dogs and they roam the streets in Chile. You'll see that stuff. So that would be like the domesticated forming up to form their little posses.
Those are the people who used to be woke and then broke free.
Oh, welcome back to the fold, Chris Carr.
But you know, as it may not be nearly as extreme, but take a look at the past couple generations, starting around the times of the boomers we were talking about a couple days ago. It used to be that dad taught his son, mom taught the daughter. Then you get institutionalized learning facilities, and the parents are like, "I'm going to work, have fun at school, son," and this creates the era of "I hate you, dad." So we were talking with Nick Freitas about this last night. I said, you know, I'll be talking to my friends and they have kids, and I'm like, "Are you excited for the I hate you, dad, or I hate you, mom phase?" And he was like, "We didn't have that." And I was like, and that's exactly why I asked, because you don't seem like the kind of guy who would. Because someone who actually raises their family with strong moral traditions is not likely to have a child hate them. But if you take your kid and you put them in an institutionalized learning facility where you have removed yourself from their life, they don't look up to you, you're not an authority figure to them, yeah, they're going to be like, "Screw you, I hate you, dad," and they're going to go run off. Whereas what it used to be is the kid would be like, "Dad, I need help. There's a bear out back." And he'd be like, grab the musket. And they'd go, like, these kind of things certainly have happened. It's not like it's impossible. What I'm saying, we've dramatically increased the likelihood. We've normalized the practice of children attacking their parents. I mean, look at the 10 Commandments. Honor thy father and thy mother. That's been totally severed from the system. Now people are becoming dependent on the state. I got to tell you another quick one before we go to the next segment. I once hired somebody, college graduate, never had a job. They were completely dependent and useless. And I was shocked by this. And what I discovered after talking to my buddy who owned a business is kids who go to college, their parents aren't aren't around all the time. They then go to school where the teacher tells them what to do. Go to high school, teacher tells them what to do. Go to college, professor tells them what to do, and they do it. They've never solved a problem on their own. I mean, certainly to a certain degree they have, but not like a regular human who grew up on their own. Now they're in their mid-20s, they get a job and they go, I have no idea what to do. I've always just been told what to do. And
They've never learned any functional skills or anything.
Critical thinking.
No critical thinking, no adversity, no overcoming obstacles, none of that. They're completely dependent, and as soon as they're put in an uncomfortable situation, they revert back to, I want comfort.
Yep.
How did you bypass all that stuff in school? You went to college? Did you
I
graduate?
went to Georgetown Business.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 19. I graduated undergraduate in 19, and then I went to Syracuse graduate
Was
school.
it nasty while you were there? Was it cool? Was it like you had to defend yourself against the weird stuff?
Oh, I kept my political beliefs very much close to the vest when I was at Georgetown. I actually was more of a sports guy back then, and it took quite a bit of courage to be like, yeah, I'm MAGA. I'm proud about it too. But I do believe that good parenting really is the bedrock of society. Parents being around specifically when kids are younger, because you don't get that a lot nowadays. A lot of women are taught, specifically in college, that self-actualization means, well, you need to go and work for a massive corporation in New York City and work tons of hours, 60 to 80-hour weeks, and starting a family isn't necessarily the thing in your best interest. And even we're taught that, and I think it's such a shame that that's the reality, because I think actual self-actualization is starting a healthy family, being around with your kids. That's what's going to give you the most rewarding experiences, and being around will help exactly what you're talking about, Tim, instill that strong moral foundation that helps you avert the I hate you dad phase.
I feel like the kids hating their parents phase is a product of modern society and governance and culture. Because certainly, if you look back at history, there are kids who rebelled against their parents for sure, but not like the way we watch it on TV and movies today, where the kid goes out, gets drunk, crashes a car, and then doesn't tell their parents, or hates their parents, or even kills their parents in some circumstances.
I had my parents told me when I was really young, you can tell us anything. That was when I was really little. So I was like, okay. So I tested it. I did it. And they never lost it. So I would get punished if I did something bad and tell them. They'd be like, all right, well, here's the consequences. But I would still tell them, and I'd still tell them. And then they wouldn't let me. Part of the reason why I still stayed connected with them is because they wouldn't let me devolve into television video games. They'd make me go outside and play. They'd make me hang out with the family and talk to them. They would make me come home by 9 o'clock. They wouldn't let me go out. I never started drinking. I just, my entertainment was video games instead of drinking, because I was at home and there was nowhere to go drink. So those tactics helped a lot in building trust between me and them.
Let's jump to this next story. It's the latest hoax, ladies and gentlemen. Animals. Trump ups rhetoric on illegal immigration. You see, Reuters is trying to be really careful because they're trying to adhere to their standard of ethics, but this here proves they're not, because it's not a story. The original headline for most of these articles was that Donald Trump called illegal immigrants animals. The only problem, he literally did not. And they were all fake news. Even Newsmax ran the fake headline. So now Reuters backtracking, probably because they don't want to get sued, but this is what Democrats are pushing. That at an event, Donald Trump said that immigrants were animals. What Donald Trump said was the murderers, the guy who killed Laken Riley, are animals. And he goes, Democrats want me to call them humans. They're not humans, they're animals. He's talking about rapists and murderers and child sex traffickers, and he is intentionally trying to insult them and degrade them because they are evil people. The media rushes out to defend them. Take a look at this. If you Google search animals, Reuters, Trump calls migrants animals, intensifying focus on illegal immigration. Newsmax says Trump calls migrants animals in Michigan stop. None of which is true. Guess what? Newsmax changed the headline to Trump, migrant influx is country changing.
Wow.
How about that one? Reuters' original headline was Trump calls migrant animals, intensifying focus on illegal immigration. They actually might have that one. Yeah, Reuters kept that one. The Yahoo report one is it is also Reuters being posted by Yahoo, but a different headline there. This is the latest hoax. Now we have that video. I got to pull this video up. I'm sorry. I have to do it. And people are probably going to bust out laughing in their seats. And some people are going to be like, dear Lord, Tim, why did you make me watch that? But you got to watch it because this is how you know it's a cult. And all right. We might have to turn the volume down on this one because I'm just gonna look at it. You can just tell by the guy's face.
I actually avoided watching it because of his face.
Can I just say to this guy, like my friend, my brother, please, you need to relax. You need to calm down. You need to do some research. Google search this stuff, and you will find peace. But volume warning.
Are you kidding me, law enforcement? Are you kidding me? Tonight in Grand Rapids, multiple law enforcement officers stood behind Donald Trump as he spoke. People that are elected officials like sheriffs, others hired to protect and enforce the law for the entire citizenry, not for a political party, explicitly forbidden from being a partisan authoritarian police force standing on stage, entirely unethical, probably illegal, on top of which Donald Trump has been indicted 91 times. He's liable for sexual assault. His entire business was found to be fraudulent. And law enforcement has the fucking gall to stand on stage with him. Enough is enough.
Okay, so the important thing here is you're allowed to be angry. I got no problem with someone going on a passionate, angry rant. Everybody does every so often. My issue here is this guy lives in a fictitious world. He lives in a false reality of hoaxes that are driving him insane. That anger you are seeing from this man screaming is one. First, police officers are allowed to stand next to politicians. It's not illegal. It is not unethical. They're allowed to do it. Sheriffs are elected officials. Yeah, they can stand next to whoever they want. In fact, sheriffs actually are part of political parties. Some are Republicans, some are Democrats, and you can vote for them as a Democrat or a Republican. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. He believes all of these hoaxes. And then I think the important thing to understand here is when he believes the lies about Trump's sexual assault and the fraudulent stuff, his entire business was found to be fraudulent. Yeah, no, not if you listen to the actual bank that lent him the money. A single judge banged a gavel in a summary judgment. So you can argue a single judge thinks that. I certainly don't think the people do. But then the important thing to understand is he goes on to make things up. Why is he mad? Because he fabricated in his mind that elected sheriffs can't stand next to political candidates. That's his point of rage. So it's possible he's grifting and he's feigning outrage, or it's possible this is the product of the media hoax machine. When they say Trump called illegal immigrants animals, don't be surprised if you get a video from like Politics Girl or Midas Touch. They already got it out probably. Or this guy going, Trump is calling human beings animals. This is what Hitler did. Ah!
But firstly, human beings are animals. We're part of just all of us. We're part of the animal kingdom. It's okay, and we're also human. Let's not try and separate ourselves from that.
It's kind of
so Trump actually, you see, the context was he wasn't going, they're animals. He was like, illegal immigrants, like all humans, are actually part of the animal kingdom.
Thank you very much.
It's actually worse than just being a product of the media machine. I think it's like, and Jimmy Dore's talked about this at length, is that these people, the Keith Olbermanns and the Jon Stewarts and this poor guy, like they, in the Jungian sense, they have a shadow about themselves that they do not want to acknowledge psychologically. So they see Trump and they call him an egomaniac. It's because they are the egomaniac. I mean, look at this guy. Look at Keith Olbermann. Look at Jon Stewart. They have these freakouts because there are aspects to themselves that they really don't want to be conscious of. And they see that in Trump. And this is what I see with every ishlib that I deal with, even family members and friends. Like, everything that they accuse Trump of, it's really something that's their problem personally. So maybe the corporate press machine, makes it worse, but I think that's a big part of it too.
And you talk about this animal hoax, all the hoaxes that are going on. If you look at the tweet cycle that comes up, it's the Biden-Harris HQ Twitter. It's been seen 5.7 million times, and it says, Trump, Democrats said, please don't call immigrants animals. I said, no, they're not humans. They're animals. And the Team Trump quote tweets them and attaches the entire quote, which is, quote, the 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia who was barbarously murdered by an illegal alien animal. The Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're animals. It's the same playbook. We've seen this 1,000 times. Yet that tweet by the Trump campaign has only been seen 130,000 times compared to the 6 million that the Biden's been seen by.
This already happened in 2018. The funny thing was when Trump said that these MS-13 gang members are not humans, they're animals. He's like, these cartel members, these gang members, they're not humans, they're animals. These are animals crossing our border. And they ran the same lie and said Trump calls migrants animals. The funny thing is at the time, Newsmax ran an op-ed calling out the media for taking Trump out of context. And then 6 years later, they take Trump out of context.
Wow.
I would say if any, just to steel man the opponent, the opposition, I guess, is that don't refer to people as not human, because they're still human, but they're just, maybe you can point people to the fact that they're engaging their bestial side, that their animal is overriding their logic or their reasoning.
I think perhaps we need to only calm down a little bit. I certainly think Trump understands he's literally talking about human beings. I think Trump is trying to insult rapists and murderers.
That is what Hitler did, is he dehumanized people. That's the concern, is that they don't want you to see you. And that's what Netanyahu did when he said I think they actually said they're human animals in Israel before they attacked. They called the Hamas or whoever human animals. So they were saying it's both.
I get what you're saying, but I think Trump is intentionally trying to insult people. It's not about dehumanizing. It's trying to look a guy in the eye and say, I'm insulting you. He's trying to insult rapists and murderers. I think there's a difference between like saying Hitler dehumanized everyday average people in Germany simply for being Jewish, and Trump called the guy who bashed a woman's face till it was disfigured because he couldn't rape her an animal. Like, there's a big difference there. You know what I mean?
I completely agree. And again, it's the same thing that happened with the bloodbath hoax too. President Trump was clearly talking about the auto manufacturing industry and what would happen if Biden gets reelected in November, specifically with his EV mandates. It's going to be a bloodbath for the American auto manufacturing industry. They take him out of context, they run with it, the media goes wild. It's the same thing, and we're going to be seeing the same thing happen 20, 30, 40, 50 times.
It's going to get real crazy in October. Like, no matter what Trump says, they're gonna twist it in some way. He's gonna say something like, we were driving in a car and light turned yellow. We sped up a little bit. We don't want to miss the light. It's like Trump admits to breaking law. Trump is criminal. Trump nearly kills child by rushing, and they're gonna just go nuts with it.
Have you guys seen it's a Hitler speech, but it's AI is doing his voice in English? And it's got his same emotions, and it's basically as if he was speaking English in fluid modern English. And
he actually says Trina Shabbat pressure.
He talks about how he sacrificed for the country, and he wants them to sacrifice for him now. And it's about the cult of him and his personality, how great he is. And Rogan was watching, he was like, it sounds like Trump. Like so if you want to defeat your enemy in a culture where you have to understand your enemy, Tulsi Gabbard talks about understanding the enemy is the way to defeat the enemy. You've got to understand why people hate Trump. And there is something about the way he communicates about how great he is that is that reminds people of dictatorial demagoguery, which can lead to dangerous totalitarian cult worship.
And everything that you're saying can be used to describe the Democrats.
Sure,
100%.
Exactly. Yeah, but you got to understand that people do truly believe that, and see why they believe it.
So the issue is, If you were to take a regular person who was like from the year 2012, frozen in time, and they came to right now and you said, which side are you on? They'd be like, if their concern was, I don't want to be supporting a demagogue, they'd probably be like, I'll take neither. If that was the only thing they knew. I think the real reason that people like this guy hate Donald Trump is because they live in a fictitious reality. I think when you actually know the truth, you're like, Trump can be criticized on a lot of things, but, it's not that bad. Then you take a look at what's going on with the prosecutions. How about this one? Donald Trump had classified documents on national security, and he's got to be indicted. And Hillary Clinton had 35,000 public records that were destroyed, that even after she was subpoenaed to turn them over, had them destroyed. And one of her staffers smashed phones with a hammer. And they're like, we're not going to arrest her. I'm like, okay. Matt Taibbi broke this down. There's a great tweet explaining Matt Taibbi explaining why he's not super concerned with Republicans. They do not have, and we talked about this too back like 2018. Why don't you talk about Republicans more? They have no institutional power. They do not control Hollywood. They have one television channel. They don't have power in Congress. They're too fractured. There is zero threat from Republicans to anyone. Unfortunately, no threat to the Democratic political structure. There's no legislation that Republicans can't even do anything. I'm not worried about that. Meanwhile, Democrats are in this psychotic cult where the media marches in lockstep with them, tells poor guys like this insane nonsense till he goes insane, blue in the face, screaming on camera.
Well, think about this, too, the Trump New York alleged hush money case. For example, President Trump has been trying, his legal team have been trying to get this Judge Juan Merchan, recused from the case, citing conflicts of interest. Merchan donated a small amount of money to the Biden campaign back in 2020, and his adult daughter, 34 years old, has been extensively reported by multiple people out there, including Julie Kelly, Laura Loomer. She's the president of this Democrat consulting firm, Authentic Campaigns, and she's done work with Kamala Harris, the Biden-Harris campaign, Adam Schiff, and she does work on campaigns, and the Trump team has argued that a potential conviction in this case could be used to financially benefit the daughter. And so Trump has made posts citing this on Truth Social, and then the judge comes out and slaps a gag order on Trump for potentially raising very real conflict of interest concerns about his daughter, which is inherently a conflict of interest right then and there. So you want to talk about Banana Republic stuff, that certainly is.
How's it normally work if you're in a case and then you feel the judge has a conflict of interest? You have your lawyer submit it to the bar?
You would have to ask the judge, you would have to cite reasons, I believe, of course, I'm not a lawyer, but you'd have to cite reasons why you believe the judge in the court could theoretically be impartial regarding the matter. And of course, they cited that the daughter could stand to financially benefit from a conviction of Trump, since she works with Democratic candidates whose job it is to bash Trump and cite Trump. Like, Trump was convicted, he's this bad guy, even though he's done nothing wrong. It's the most frivolous case you could possibly imagine. But the judge wouldn't do it. He cited a New York ethics committee that came out and said that, well, the daughter, who is 34, whatever, and her firm are neither directly or indirectly involved, so she's going to have to stay on the case. And we have to keep in mind the trial starts April 15th as well. When you look at the media coverage, too, they only emphasize that Trump was attacking this daughter of the judge. The daughter's older than I am. And Democrats, especially mainstream media, entertainment, Democrat Congress members, they have no problems attacking Clarence Thomas for not the activities of himself, but the activities of his wife. Double standards left and right.
Well, they did the same thing with the Ingeron case, where they were talking about Trump is attacking his wife, according to Julie Kelly's reporting, she's awesome. She said that it's extremely rare for a judge to be removed from a case. Ultimately, it's their decision whether or not they're going to step down or not. So,
And they're all going to say, I'm fine.
Exactly.
Bingo.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild that this judge's daughter is like a political consultant.
President and partner. Worked with Adam Schiff in the middle of the impeachment hoax #1 while he was working with Michael Cohen, who will be testifying.
But now this judge is saying Trump can't criticize this
Cohen or his daughter.
Yeah.
Yep. Isn't that, I mean, here's the thing that I just don't understand. The guy isn't it inherently a conflict of interest to simply say, you can't criticize my daughter? Like, it's my daughter. It's just a family. The father would always want to do something to protect his family of sorts. The whole thing is just mind-boggling, and it really shows you that this get Trump mentality in and of itself, it's a very real thing pervading our criminal justice system.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen anything like it in human history. I've
in
never
human
seen anything,
history?
Nothing like this kind of manhunt. It's like a.
What do you mean?
It's like a casual. I've never seen them take one guy for decades, and just make him a villain, but when he's plainly like a citizen, like he's just an American citizen. He was the president.
It's not quite been a decade yet.
They started going at him in like 2011 when he came out about Obama's birth certificate, and I got it.
There are many thought leaders throughout history who have been falsely accused, condemned, and even worse than Trump.
He was
murdered.
I've never seen this. This is so weird, though, man. He was president, then he wasn't, and people are just like watching, and then
you've never seen in human history a single man be condemned by the political establishment, hunted down, sold out by his friends and family members, and then killed?
I'd never seen it before. It's probably has happened.
One example comes to mind.
What are you guys thinking?
Christ, of course.
Like substantially worse what happened to him.
I mean, there's been political upheaval and you're going after your enemies and things, but it's just maybe because it's happening in real time right in front of our faces on TV. And like,
I think that's what you're zeroing in on.
Yeah, maybe never in our lifetime.
And it's happening so slowly because it's happening in real time. Like, it's been going on for years.
Well, the telltale sign for me is that, Trump was clean his entire life. Then he decides to run for office.
Yeah, they loved
him.
He
leaves. Everybody loved him. Don Jr. talks about he was the star of the parties that he used to go to. Then all of a sudden his father decides to run for office. And everyone's like, oh, we can't be associated with you. Yeah. President Trump's clean his entire life. He's in rap songs. He's this icon. He's a cultural icon. He's going to SneakerCon in Philadelphia, of course. He released the Trump sneakers. Yeah. Everybody likes them.
We got to get some of those. How do I get some of those?
I know the gold ones have completely sold out. You can get them on eBay for thousands of dollars, Tim, if you're interested.
We want to film a skate video.
We should get one, get Don to sign it when we see him, and then put it at the studio, like in the studio. That'd be cool.
That'd be sick. Frame it, the whole thing. But I mean, he was clean his entire life, and he leaves the presidency, and then he gets 94 or 91.
That's a big part of it. Is he doesn't seem like a very corrupted guy, which is a weird thing to say because of all this media pressure about his corruption. I'm not saying he's totally clean, but he's not like your average dirty politician guy, which is maybe why it's such a big deal and why it's been such a protracted endeavor to put him behind bars or something, because there hasn't been a lot of actual real crimes.
There's a buy it now on eBay, $1,500.
Really?
$7 shipping. That's what I'm seeing. Yeah. If they're authentic, I don't know. I haven't really looked at all the pictures, but
Yeah, I think there's knockoffs. Like here's a gold Trump sneakers. Oh, that says pre-order.
I ordered the white ones. I thought they looked pretty clean.
Same
They have a
style.
bunch of pre-orders.
Just different
Pre-orders.
A little different color, not as big, but as soon as they came, as soon as they dropped, I was like, those.
We
are
want
fresh.
to film a skate video with them.
Oh my god, that'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Well, the little skating complex you have outside is incredible. I never got into the whole skating culture. I tried to do skateboarding a little bit when I was a kid because some of my friends like to do it. I could just never manage to balance.
You ever go surfing?
Surfing, no, never have. No surfing, no skiing. I was always basketball, soccer, like those types of sports.
These are maybe fake, but I see on eBay $240 for a pair.
That's pretty good.
How, are they? Could they be fake though?
They could be.
They could be.
It says Donald T. Gold shoes, MAGA, never surrender high tops. Maybe they're knockoffs.
It's possible. It definitely is possible. They sold out though in hours when he decided to go to SneakerCon, and people loved it.
These are probably like mock-ups or something.
Yeah, I mean, what other politician could pull that off?
I gotta text Don Jr. and be like, bro, we need those shoes.
I would like to see some roller skates made out of a pair.
We could do that.
That'd be sweet.
that's
Yeah.
really cool.
That would be sick. Imagine the clicks on that video.
Yeah.
Just the upside down with the wheel still attached to the feet, as like you see it in slow
I
motion.
feel like we were talking about something important, but then the sneakers thing
Yeah.
happened.
Well,
you
that's
know?
really important.
That
Oh
really
yeah,
is
we were
what's
talking
important.
about Trump was winning awards for like civil rights, and then he's like, I'm gonna run for president, and they're like, he's a white supremacist.
What other president has created as much jobs as Donald Trump? Just from what everything he's been doing in New York City.
I think been thinking a lot about Teddy Roosevelt lately because I think from what I've heard he was a severely racist, like killed a lot of Native American, like was happy to do it, had the Rough Riders. I mean, that was just the kind of the sign of the times. But now he's known as one of the greatest presidents of all time because of his love for nature and what he did for the United States. And Obama, when he came in, said that Abraham Lincoln was his favorite president. And then when he left office, he was saying that Teddy Roosevelt was his favorite president. I think Trump's a lot like Teddy in that we're just seeing his personality. No one got Teddy's personality because it was before the internet, before TV was around. So you can hear a little bit of his voice on radio, which is awesome. It's Teddy. And I think I have a feeling that it's a similar thing. It's just weird to see it up in person and let your emotions, when your emotions get attached and people try and twist that for gain, man, I can feel that happening all around us at the moment.
Well, one similarity that comes to mind is that they're both freaking bulls. I mean, like Teddy Roosevelt getting shot and then continuing his speech. I'm just like, Trump could probably do that. I mean, like, he's unstoppable.
I mean, if he didn't need to stop, he wouldn't. I don't think he would stop. He might.
Right.
He might.
I mean, I've never seen
can see
anything like it. He reminds me a bit of a bull in a china shop, almost
Yep.
like nothing. They call him Teflon Don for a reason. Like literally nothing phases him. And the thing I always go back to is, again, we were talking about this guy had an incredible life. He did not need to be doing this. He doesn't need to be doing this right now, yet he is. And he did a town hall with Fox News when he was in South Carolina right before the primary, and he was on the cusp of a historic win. And Laura Ingraham, she asked him, she was like, "Have you ever been just like, that's it, I'm done?" And he literally was just like, I can't. I literally cannot stop until I make the country great again, and it's not great. I cannot rest until I do that." And he's genuine. He truly believes it. He cannot rest until he believes he has achieved the goal of what got him into politics, making America great again.
I wonder when he got that, when that inspired him. Was it like 2011, 2010? Do you guys know? I got to ask him.
I have no idea.
When did Obama make the joke about him at the correspondence?
Remember that?
Yes.
And then it shows his
Was that
face
the
and Don's just like, he's so pissed. Yeah, he said, who did he say? You'll never be president? Is that what Obama looked at Trump
Yeah.
and said, you will never be president? I was like, ha, and then it shows Trump's face and he's just looking at him.
Reminds me of the LeBron meme from Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, I think in like 2012 against the Celtics, and his back was against the wall, and everyone was like, LeBron's about to choke, and then he dropped like 44 points, and there's this meme of him looking up, and he's just locked in, and you're like, that man's coming for souls today. That's exactly what it is, and like back Trump against the wall, he'll always come out on top.
I got like, I guess the only thing I can really call it is a divine inspiration around 2006. I started making YouTube videos and I was watching myself, and I really changed as a person doing that. Watching myself speak the truth was weird. But I couldn't stop. I couldn't. That's a similar thing. Like, this is what I am. And I wonder if he had a transition at some point, because I didn't used to think that. I used to want to be an actor and just make money and retire and go on boats all the time.
Going on boats is not bad.
I know. I still want to go on boats.
It's like the male desire. It's like, you gotta be at water. It's something about water. It's just very, very nice and relaxing. And going on boats is just, it's the best feeling.
Yeah. Did you guys ever get that, like, that inspiration? Did that ever strike you, like, in a moment? Or has it always been part of your life?
I really don't know. I've had this. I think in the lead up to the 2020, I always wanted to go in sports. I wanted to do sports broadcasting, and I just felt like the industry was so liberal, and I would be betraying who I was at my core if I were to go in there and swallow what I actually was.
I mean, Barstool.
Yeah, Barstool definitely to an extent.
Dave Portnoy's done a lot with Tunnel to Towers. That's pretty.
He's
awesome.
done, and he's did a lot of good things for that slain New York Police Department officer, Jonathan
like
Diller.
1.5 million or something.
$1.5
Shout out Dave
million.
Portnoy.
Honestly, shout out him. Shout out Barstool for what they're doing in regards to that.
I'm not too familiar with Barstool. I mean, I definitely know who they are, but do they do like a podcast? Do they do shows?
A bunch. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. Mincy, he's cool.
And then do they do also like sports reporting?
Oh yeah, sports. and stuff.
Let me tell you about Dave Portnoy. So he had sold Barstool to Penn Entertainment, and then Mincy, who's one of their personalities, was rapping on a stream or whatever, and the rap song included the N-word. So he apologized right afterwards, like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that," and they fired him. And Dave came out and he's like, "Dude, I sold the company. Like, something I can do about it." But Dave immediately gave Mincy a job at one of his other companies,
Brick Watch.
His watch company. And I'm like, based. Like, Portnoy was not going to let his buddy go hanging because this company screwed him over. Then Dave ended up getting the whole company back, I think, for like $1 or something.
How did that happen?
Because the Barstool brand was bad for Penn Entertainment. Penn is trying to launch these casinos, and they're like, we're being denied gaming licenses because Barstool is like, they say what they think because Portnoy's an edgy guy. And so he gets the whole company back, immediately hires Mincy back. Dude, yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's
you could write a
loyalty.
movie
I respect
about that. That's a good script. That'd be a really good
Dude,
script.
he ended up getting like $500 million for free. It's crazy.
And that wouldn't even have to be the end of the movie. Like, that'd be a good part of a script. Just that whole
Yeah.
situation that he went through.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just tremendously respect. We see all these instances where someone might lose their job, and how about this? Like Dickie Barrett, he was the lead singer of Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and he's now the lead singer of The Defiant. He was the announcer for Jimmy Kimmel. Didn't want to get vaccinated. He said, I don't want to do it. So they fired him. Kimmel was on his show saying that these people, I'll be very, very, very specific. He was basically saying people who didn't want to get vaccinated and wanted to get ivermectin instead should not be given medical treatment. They should be denied medical treatment if they get sick, which is crazy. And but shout out to I'll give Kimmel this much. He brought The Defiant on Kimmel the other night, and they played live. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. That doesn't mean like, but
I hear
it's
great
cool
things
that he
about
did.
it. Shout out to the crew at Kimmel. You guys out there, nice job. The band loved it. I mean, Pete's feedback is excellent.
Yeah, I'm glad that they got that opportunity. But that's the kind of thing, like I see that and I'm like, bro, this guy was your friend for decades and he'd really leave you out to dry like that? That's so messed up, dude. And then you look at Pete and The Offspring. Pete was with The Offspring, I think, for 14 years, Pete Parada. And then he goes to the doctor, and the doctor says, you have a risk of Guillain-Barré syndrome. You can't get the vaccine. And Pete was like, okay, hey guys, you're fired. Right? They're like, goodbye. And it's like, what the? After 14 years, that's it? Talk about scumbags, dude. There are evil people. Then you look at Dave Portnoy, and he's like, yo, I sold the company. I can't do anything. I'm going to make sure Mincy's okay, though. I'm going to give him a job. Gets the company back as Mincy. Welcome back to the company. That's how you do it.
I'm thinking about the dissolution of the family and friendships and like what an insidious tactic that is for whoever is doing that if they're trying to change our culture by destroying our family systems. Because I have a friend that I haven't talked to in like 3 years that I had almost a falling out with. Like, we're like best friends. And because of politics, because of the stupid heat on TV, me and him aren't talking now for a few. It's like I can direct the rage I have about not being able to hang out with him at these people. I can do that. I don't even know who they are, and I don't know what's going on, but I can feel it building. Like how dare that's such a cheap phrase. How dare you? But it's the way you say it. Like, you attempt to destroy my friends. Like that's over the line for me.
But your friends, I mean, I'm talking about my friends too, and family members. I mean, they're complicit. And the thing is that like the where they go over the line is that they kind of inherit this authoritarian personality that they didn't have before. And I don't know if it's because out of some sort of personal terror of what they're experiencing, but it's just like, if you're going to be this authoritarian personality around me, then this isn't going to work, And it's unfortunate, but that's what happens. And I know a lot of people that have been through the same thing.
he is the kind of guy I wish he was here, man. That we would get into blowout fights over Magic the Gathering, stupid shit.
Sure.
So it's not big of all of my friends to have a blowing out with. It would be, my buddy, the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. You know who I'm talking about. So it is, but they got to come back. You've got to be able to pull this all together. Like,
So who apologizes?
I don't know.
I mean, like, did this happen to you? Friends and family?
Yeah, I would
during
say
the COVID thing?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I would say the biggest thing when I think about like blow ups and whatever, time heals all wounds. Sometimes, specifically when it comes to stupid stuff, there have been people in my life who I've gotten into blow ups and you don't talk, and then years go by and you're like, man, we were so dumb. What the hell were we doing? Like bringing in, But then there are other people, I was nervous at first. I mean, like, as soon as I came out and I was like, oh, I got a job at One American News. I'm going to be on air. I'm going to be reporting. Oh, yeah. People stopped talking to me. 100%. 1,000%. But if that's just who you are, you weren't a true friend to begin with. So, see ya.
yeah, that's my attitude as well.
Yeah.
What do you do?
It's tough when it's I guess what do you do? Time heals the wound, so you don't have to be aggressive about it, but probably just trying to pretend like they're dead to you is not the way to go either.
I don't think time heals all wounds. Because if I were to look back at 10 years ago, people I'd been talking to, and the political divide today, yeah, no way, dude. There are people that I was not, like, there are people who are good friends of mine who have gone just pure evil, other direction. So it's like political fissures over a long period of time create enemies is a better way to put it. There's a guy that I was really good friends with, and he's just making up stories about me. Why? It gives him clout, I guess.
And that's the whole political divides over time create enemies is like, that's the communist tactic of making the kids turn into parents and their neighbors and all that. Like, we gotta override that because that is a path.
Why? Explain to me, like, so I'll keep it vague. You know someone, let's say it's 15 years ago. You hang out almost every day. You get off work. You're like, hey, what's up, man? What are you up to tonight? We're going to go hang out. We're going to party. Yeah, let's go hang out. And for a couple of years, you're like real good friends. And then, you end up slowly stop hanging out or whatever. And then you, for one day, you don't realize, but that's it. You just don't hang out anymore. You move. But you're still friends, whatever. Then one day, 10 years later, you see him going online and making up lies about you, insulting you, attacking you like crazy to a random group of strangers. Why would a human being do that?
What I do is I make a video with their name and I talk directly to them and humiliate them in public because I've got more public attention than they do. That's what my tactic was when my friends would talk shit about me and they stopped talking shit about me. Yeah, my friends. And then they stopped talking to me, but I got the last word in.
I'm just saying,
I at least have my integrity.
People are evil. Not all people, but there are people who are very evil. And the thing is, you don't know who's evil until the evil person has a reason to strike you down. And I suppose it's, they say like if you win the lottery, don't tell anybody because then everyone comes out of the woodwork. And you look at what happens. Like there was that story recently where that dude won the lottery and then some guy claimed it was his ticket and it was stolen from him and then like threatened to attack him or something. And the police got involved. The guy clearly didn't win the ticket. They knew who actually won, but he was so insane. He was like, I must have that. $500 million, whatever the number was.
There's something that Patrick Bet-David talks about that I'm still coming to terms with is paranoia, the value of paranoia for a leader. And I think he finds himself paranoid and has found that to be a useful ability. Like you were saying, you're never going to know who's going to betray you until they do it. Like that kind of like paranoia, you're like on guard. It can be useful, but I feel like you could be a great leader without being paranoid. But maybe paranoia will keep you alive longer or keep you from becoming betrayed in business more. I don't know. I've yet to run a large business that's turning over a lot of money. So I would imagine in business, maybe paranoia is super, but with friendship, it just does not jive. Like thinking your friend's going to betray you, that's not a friend.
But you don't know. You don't know until you win the lottery and then they show up at your house stealing your stuff.
Like the superficial.
Like you could be friends. You and this other guy are poor. And so you're friends and you think you're friends. Then you become rich and all of a sudden they're trying to steal from you. You were never really friends. This guy was just using you for convenience and you thought you were friends. And the reality is there are a lot of people out there who are liars, who are evil, who will stab you in the back, but they don't have a reason to, so they don't. So you think everything's cool. Mm-hmm. Then the moment they have a reason to stab you in the back, they do.
That's why we have walls.
Those
crazy monkeys.
Big, beautiful walls.
200,000 years of crazy monkey activity has led us to build walls so that you don't get stabbed in the back while you're eating dinner.
That's true.
Freaky
We're going to go
ass.
to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, support the show, because that's how we do it. The principal funding for this entire operation is memberships. So if you think what we're doing should keep doing, then become a member, because that's how it happens. But as a member, you'll get access to the Discord server, which means there's a chat room you can sign up for. You can hang out with like-minded individuals. They do pre-shows. They do after shows. There's stuff on the weekends and the mornings. So it's tons of content being made by the community, and you should network with them. That's how we win a culture war. But you'll also get access to our uncensored show coming up at 10 p.m. You don't want to miss it. So again, timcast.com and click join us. But for now, smash that like button and we will read your super chats. Clint Torres, of course, with the first saying, howdy, people.
Yeah.
Howdy, Clint. Shane H. Wilder says, I just wanted to wish a happy birthday to Ian. May you roll nothing but 20s today.
Thanks,
Oh,
dude.
hi, Tim.
As you can tell, I already have.
But that was yesterday,
I was
right?
talking cheek. Yesterday was my birthday. Oh, and I have a gift here I
Happy
need to open.
birthday.
You didn't
Thanks,
even open
man.
it yet.
I'm going to open this gift. Let me do
Poor,
this.
poor Nick slaved over, I don't know.
Who slaved over what? I don't have slaves.
Whatever factory you
Ooh,
makes
what's this?
It's a mug.
All right, I'm
What
going to
does
show
it say?
show it on TV. It says, tread around and find out with a triple colon, which oh no, those are 3 stars.
There you
That's
go.
cool. Thanks, man. Who
From
got this
Nick
for me?
Freitas.
Oh, thanks, Nick. I didn't know he got this for me.
We
I
had a
thought you
cake.
did.
We had a cake and a present for Ian, and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and he never showed
The
up.
cake's getting eaten, though. It's a graphene cake. It's an actual, just a normal cake with graphene etchings on the top.
Allison drew
Not real
hexagonal lettuces on it.
Yes, with frosting.
All right. Clint Torres has said, I screenshotted tonight's result so the establishment doesn't rig the game like last night. The result of what? Tonight's results? Do you mean the primary stuff? Was there a primary tonight?
Last night, Wisconsin.
Right.
Bunch of elections in Wisconsin. I think New York, and a couple other states as well. Connecticut, maybe.
All right. Ad Victorium says, don't let Missouri fool you. The woke mind virus has been taking control in the state, into the state and county government. The state is hiring DEI admins. I live in rural Missouri and see it pouring out of St. Louis and KC. Well, you got to get politically active. Run for office. Do something.
Yeah, Morgan. You guys follow her on X?
Yeah.
She posted a video yesterday. She was walking down a street in rural Kansas, and she found 30 pride flags. Pride flags, BLM flags.
Just
Yeah.
like on buildings and stuff?
On shops, small shops.
Oh,
You know, the little "Don't hurt me" signs that they put
Yep.
up just to make sure that they're
Yep.
safe in the event of a really bad situation.
Yeah. The pride flag should be called the please don't hit me flag.
I was just going to say that I've identified that flag to my very young kids, but I'll save what I call that flag for the members only segment.
All right. Brad Best, he says, Brad Beatty, howdy. Howdy. Caleb says, just testing. It worked. Congratulations. Gary G says, if you look at the eclipse directly, you'll get special powers. That's why they don't want you to look at it. Yeah, it's called blindness. And then you'll be like Daredevil, totally blind. Don't do it. Yeah, so apparently the eclipse is coming. Get your special glasses. If you want to look at it. I'm going to be using the Apple Vision Pro.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Going up to Niagara Falls.
Nope. No, we're getting like 90% coverage here.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Does the Apple Vision give you like analytics on the whole process while you're watching?
When you put the goggles on, the AI, it's like you ever watch Iron Man with Jarvis?
Yeah.
It instantly circles all the faces and then tells you the like trajectory for the rockets that'll fire out of your suit. I'm kidding. Apple Vision does nothing. It's boring. It's a
Oh, it
useless
doesn't give you
product.
names of like
Does
craters
nothing.
or any of that?
No.
No. Maybe they'll
It's
make an app.
useless. Yeah.
Like one of
I
those
don't know.
Skygazer apps that you can use and look up and look around
I've been
with.
saying, look, the Apple Vision Pro is largely useless, but I discovered when learning a song on the guitar, it actually is fairly useful to have 3 floating monitors in front of you where you can pull up the lyrics, the tablature, the chords, or whatever you might need, and the video's playing in real time. That's actually not bad. But that's only because normally if your phone's sitting in front of you and you're swiping up and then playing and then swiping up,
Yeah, if you want to stand up and move around while you're singing, that helps a lot.
And so that's the only thing it's good for. And apparently, because the way it works is it films the world and then creates a screen in front of you. You can look at the eclipse with it because you're looking at a screen.
That's unbelievable. It really is like Jarvis from Iron Man. It really is. It sounds like the real like version of it.
It doesn't do
I
anything.
can see him implementing it into the screen of your Tesla. Like you'll have that augmented system in your Tesla probably.
If
at
you
some
were
point. And
to-
then it'll go into the spacesuit next.
The thing is, though, like, I guess they didn't want, if they were to design the Iron Man suit functionally, it would look like the stupidest thing imaginable. The head would be massive.
Huge.
Yeah, instead it's this very like tight-fitting, there's like what, like 2 millimeters of steel protecting Tony Stark's head from a rocket blast, and it works. Yeah, I don't
It's the beauty of fiction.
Yeah, because they'll say like, well, there's magnetic repulsor fields that were dampen, because like in Civil War or whatever, Rhodey's suit gives out and he hits the ground and now he's paralyzed.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I saw Iron Man get hit by a rocket. Mm-hmm. Oh, but his suit was powered at the time.
So he's got inertial dampeners where he can.
Sure.
Oh, I see what's happening.
We'll just plot armor this, quite literally. Plot armor.
Yeah. Change the direction of space time.
Chase Catalino says, getting married Saturday. Just want to shout out my coconut head wife will be Shinshin, Poopsie, Catalano. Appreciate you, Tim and team. Oh, congratulations.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
D99 says, no Goku orange for the MAGA Haga shirt. Shame and lame. Do you mean the, what was it? MAGA, what was it? Kamagamaga. That was it. We made the shirt that was Trump going Super Saiyan. And he's saying Kamagamaga.
It's lost on me.
Yeah, it's one of the shirts we have. Vincent Baker says there was an AT&T data leak at the beginning of the year. SSNs and personal info for 70 million users. Would be interesting to see if it tracks with the voter registrations you mentioned yesterday. Interesting.
Oh, wow. Facebook just sold $100 million worth of data to somebody, too. Did you guys catch that?
No.
I gotta look that up.
Kelly says Biden signed an executive order that allows federal funding to pay college students to get out the vote. Registering college students. Wow. Designing has paid college students. What does that mean? We have Pressler who works for free.
Oh, I'm referencing Facebook let Netflix see their user DMs to help them tailor content. This is from Daily Mail. I read that they paid them $100 million for the data, but I could be wrong
Creepy.
about that. Yeah.
Grofty says Buck, Buck is. Certainly. SN says, didn't a bunch of cattle die all at once last election season too? Did they? Don't know. All right. Edward McClung says, April 8th is my 50th birthday. There's a solar eclipse, a new moon, and Timcast 999 episode all on that day. I tell my kids I'm going to be called home by aliens or the Fae. LMFAO.
The Fae.
That's awesome.
The Fae.
Dude, the simulation must be wild for you, by the way. That's wild that you did this.
What if
on that day.
what if April 8th really is like the season finale?
It could be.
And right now news has been slow for the past couple weeks because it's the calm before the storm.
Late April's a good time to start the next season, April, May. So maybe we're going to go on a 2-month downturn and take a break and then come back next season strong, getting ready for the November.
Mm-hmm. It could be like, Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War was originally supposed to end with them killing Thanos.
Was it really?
Yeah, so it was supposed to be, for those that have seen the movie, Thanos snaps, half of everyone dies. They then track him down. So that's opening scene in Endgame where Tony Stark comes back, they hunt him down and kill him. That was the original end of Infinity War because they filmed both movies at the same time. And then someone was like, no. We should end the first movie just with like Thanos wins because he's the protagonist of that movie. He's not the bad guy. He's actually the protagonist. It starts with him, it ends with him, and he wins. And April 8th, we are going to have what would seem like an abrupt finale before the new season kicks off November.
Ooh.
Or October. Yeah, see?
Yeah, we'll just be doing reruns between now and then.
I'd probably say
Just
October.
kidding.
I'd probably say
We're already
October's
doing
October's probably the kickoff.
So here's what they don't want you to know.
Could be Sweet July. Who
And by
knows?
they, I mean the Illuminati. The universe that we're in is a simulation. And what is the purpose of that simulation? Who wants to hire writers? Who wants to script a show? No, you get an AI, you let the whole world have its auto-generated stories, and then the people running the show can isolate key components of Earth to make a show about. So like Friends, for instance, that's part of this AI simulated universe. And the people who created the AI are like, we get Friends, we get Malcolm in the Middle, we got Family Guy, we got Game of Thrones. It is effectively a hit generator. And then we're just ancillary background characters that facilitate the creation of their shows. You see?
Okay, I think that from time to time, the stuff I talk
like-
about is like actually going to get created by someone else.
Well, it's like South Park. Earth was a reality show. You know?
Talk about a
And
great
they were
show.
like, we're canceling Earth. No. And then the aliens were doing it, but they got away with showing it on TV because the aliens were doing weird things that don't apply to humans, but it was clearly sexual. You ever see that one?
No. I guess I
Yeah,
should,
they
though.
were like, touch my Glaybon. Yeah, and it's just like, you know what it's a reference to, but because it's not sexual, they're allowed to do it on TV. Those guys are wild. Let's go. Nathan Sherwood says there's rumors a handful of states have contacted Cardano for help securing their elections.
Oh, I heard about that.
Really?
Yeah, very interesting. Talking about voting on a blockchain,
Yeah.
potentially. It's cool.
What is this? Chick Micken in return says, Trump said he wanted more immigrants than ever before, but legally. His supporters bragged that Obama deported more people. That's right. Trump said they can come, but they got to come legally. And I agree. I think it's fantastic. Chris Pruitt says, my dog of 17 years is being put to sleep tomorrow to ease her suffering. I will miss her terribly. I hope you read this chat because many years from now, I can always come back to one of my favorite shows and listen to a chat about my best dog, Meredith. Sorry to hear it, Chris, but just know that Meredith will be crossing into the other side and meeting with Mr. Bocus and Roberto Jr., who will be waiting there to greet Meredith for the next adventure.
Yeah.
And then some point, you too will cross that threshold and Meredith will be waiting for you.
I was thinking about the spirit of Bucko a couple nights ago and how you can recall it. Like your dog, your Meredith, you're going to be able to be with her from time to time if you want to let yourself be. She'll come to you in your memories and in your visions and things. So she's still going to be there with you, but it's not she. It's something else. It's other, but you know that. You know the spirit.
I feel like Mr. Bocus's spirit is still here with us because every so often I'll get a whiff of cat piss and just think.
Turned out it was the year.
I don't think there's anything really worse than your pet passing away. It's something that like really cracks at the soul of your being. That's like your best friend, you know? It's the worst. It's the worst thing ever. I'm really sorry to hear that.
It's very painful. It really just takes time, and sometimes time doesn't even help. I mean, my cat was 17 when we had to put her down about a year and a half ago. Very painful experience, and we just now felt like we could get a new cat, so we adopted another cat in her honor. But it was really, really tough. I feel bad for you.
I read this funny meme, and they said that to dogs, humans are basically elves. We have seemingly magical powers. We live for hundreds of dog years. We're there. We care for them. We're like magical elves to them.
We just open magical portals and give them food.
Yep.
Just show up and they're like, I don't know where it comes from or how they do it. It just appears and it's the most delicious thing you can ever imagine.
It's like every day you come home from work, it's like the most incredible, miraculous feat to your dog or your cat. They're waiting for you. It's the most exciting part of their day. You revolve around their entire day. You are their world.
Well,
You came back.
when you leave, it's as if your friend left for a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because dog years are very different, you know what I mean?
Do you think bugs sense time slow too? Because we got these stink bugs, but and they die after a couple weeks, but do they live like 80 years and they just watch us move super fast constantly? And they're like, what is this chaos all around me?
And they're moving really slow.
Yeah.
The stink bugs. Yeah, I don't know. I was reading about a fly that's so tiny, it swims in the air, doesn't fly.
What?
Yeah.
Wild.
I don't know, you can look it up. Yeah. It's so small that its wings actually like push as though it's swimming.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about coagulating air into a solid so you can climb like a ladder, like make ladder out of space or out of air, gas.
Solid nitrogen and solid oxygen does exist.
If you could just, with like a glove, like freeze it in place as you move, you could like climb the air.
But they would create like a massive vacuum pressure because you would have to massively condense a lot of air.
Yeah, you need superconductors.
To make solid air.
You
And
need
I
a lot
believe
of-
it would be like negative 200 or something degrees or some ridiculous number.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not 200, I don't know.
It could be way
It
more.
requires massive compression.
Yeah, or like heat release. You need one of three things: pressure, heat, or
No, not heat.
space. And if those three things come together, if you can find the right combination of exactuation, you can convert matter's form.
To make a gas into a solid requires massive compression, which would release heat. So it would become very cold.
To make a gas a solid, you either need to release heat, compress it, or reduce the space that it's trapped in.
Right, but the heat comes out no matter what. And compression is reducing the space.
You can compress you can make more pressure with the same amount of space, or you can make it in a smaller area.
I see.
And that's the temperature. P equals V.
Right.
It's the pressure.
But so it's like compressing
ideal gas law is what that's
atmospheric
called.
compression versus like solid compression. Look it up, actually. How cold is solid oxygen? Like little ice oxygen. There's this really cool thing I read about air batteries. I watched this video where when the solar generators generate too much energy, the excess energy is used to compress air into a liquid state. And then if they ever want that energy back, they can relieve the pressure on the liquid air, which spins a turbine and generates electricity.
Oh,
so they're physical air batteries. It stores electrical energy by converting air into a liquid state through compression.
This looks like solid oxygen forms at normal atmospheric pressure at a temperature below 54 Kelvin, which is negative 218 Celsius
close.
or negative 361 Fahrenheit at normal pressure.
Okay, I was wrong because I was thinking Fahrenheit.
So,
But if I could just pretend I was saying Celsius, then I was right.
you were headed in the right direction.
100%.
Minus 300. What's absolute zero?
I think it's like
400?
minus 700. Let me find out. Absolute.
I thought
zero.
negative
It's
30 in Iowa was cold.
No, absolute zero is 0 Kelvin, so it'd be like 400 and something. Let me
Yeah,
check.
it's minus 400, isn't it? Yep. I only know what I learned from watching YouTube videos, so it's all
Absolute zero. They think they can't go any colder yet. It's 459 degrees. 45967 is
minus 459.
Yeah, minus.
Minus, yeah.
Wow, so solid oxygen is getting pretty dang close. Let's go. What do we have here? What do we have?
Oh, let me real quick. It's absolute zero is a range between negative 273 degrees. No, anyway, you're right. Celsius.
4?
Yeah. No,
Oh,
I was
right,
wrong.
I
It's,
see, I
it's
see.
Celsius Fahrenheit.
All right. Zweihander says, Tim, you should watch James O'Keefe's latest insider video on Twitter about the co-creator of Ethereum whistleblowing about Ethereum Foundation's financial crimes with U.S. government corruption. Wow. Interesting.
Caught a glimpse of that, but
Yeah, I
I
gotta
got
take a
no
look.
idea.
All right. David Toronto. No, Ian, we have too many lazy people, living off the government. They are able but not willing to work.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because as I was saying that we had too many people, I think the people just aren't being utilized or aren't utilizing their bodies properly. It's a better way of saying it.
See, here's the problem with communism. What is it? From each according to their ability to each according to their need. The problem is my abilities are great and the average communist abilities are slim. So when they make these jokes where they're like, I would teach people poetry when we win communism, they're not wrong. They're useless. Granted, they're going to be better at breaking rocks than poetry, but they very much will be useless and probably just breaking rocks. Got to do something.
I can go a lot of directions with that one.
That's what they want. Let's grab some more super chats. Here we go. Aaron Pendleton says, Tim, I live in Oregon and I agree. Decriminalization is an ish show. People doing the fentanyl lean all over the place. Democrats have ruined Oregon. Without mail-in voting, conservatives might fix it. You know, I don't know what's going to happen come November, but no one's going to be happy with the outcome. Yeah. Greater Painter says, Tim, you should ask Michaela Peterson about the Purple Lady. Ooh, DMT. Why did she...
She interviewed the guy you were talking about.
Oh, did she really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
A while ago.
The Purple Lady.
What's that guy's name?
My name is Jeff says, my wife gave birth to our first son, Jonah, last Friday. Every day since has been the best day of my life. Have kids. It's awesome. Congratulations,
Nice.
sir.
Awesome.
There you go. Hung Solo, good name, says, I was having a conversation with my girlfriend on the S24 Ultra using Samsung's Translate AI for fun, and it went psycho on me. Remember I said this? So my brother called me, and I don't know what I pressed, but the new Samsung has an auto translate over the phone feature, and so it started speaking Spanish.
What?
Yeah. Like everything I would say would just turn into Spanish and get sent to him. He was like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. What is this? It's kind of cool that it can do that, but, kind of weird.
A little creepy.
All right. Where are we at? Pags says, I don't know much about the story of Babel, but I'm going to comment and use it as a reference. Said by nobody but Ian C. Phillip to replace Ian. Okay.
Is that a rip on Phil Labonte? Because I'll defend him to the end.
I have no idea.
No, it was a rip on me. I think.
Jenny
I still don't
Bucket
understand.
says, run a fact check on bird flu. Every viral replication makes it less deadly. This is H5, no H1. So was H1 that deadly? What is the rate of the fourth mutation? Interesting. SBC Jake says, hey, Tim, did you know that the next blood red lunar eclipse will be 2032, 33, 2032, 33? Oh, I see. Will be in the year 2032 or 33, 2,000 years after Jesus' death. I believe this solar eclipse is God giving America one last opportunity to repent. So if you want to look at the plagues as more like varying in what they could be, we have a river of blood, the Rio Grande, people dying, chaos, people with guns. You could metaphorically say that. We have the cicadas coming out. You know about this? The rare occurrence cicadas. Only happens once every 221 years, apparently. That's what someone super chatted us. And that's happening on the 8th. That's happening around...
Is it really?
Yeah, in Illinois. So there's your locusts.
Okay.
We're going to get not 3 days of darkness, but we're going to get darkness. And then what were the other plagues? Has anyone's firstborn died? Raining frogs.
Yeah, the raining frog thing was weird. The
Yeah.
firstborn thing, no. But the whole like sacrificing children aspect of it is very concerning with like people having kids get their genitals cut off is like, that's the direction I see that one.
Okay.
Or the fentanyl crisis.
Jadric Pennifer says God equals proper noun, lowercase God, a level or role within a hierarchy. The idea is God is the God of gods, King of kings, Lord of lords, but never forget Christ is king. Yeah. So I think the easiest way to explain it is there is a man named John. There is also a John who visits a hooker. We don't capitalize one, we do capitalize the other.
I guess I kind of look at God like just a lowercase thing that is. There's no like need beyond that. So to start to control it is kind of weird.
But there is quite literally a proper noun God.
Yeah. Yeah, I know
It's a
there
name.
is. I don't know if that's always been like that. At some
It
point,
is.
people start
Well,
to
I
be
mean,
like
in Christianity,
command, control.
In the Abrahamic faith tradition, God is a proper noun. It's a reference to a single entity of a proper name.
I got a feeling it was a dude that rolled into town, was like, I'm God now. Killed everybody's like, bow down to my authority. Serve your Lord. And they were all like, okay. And then the next guy came into town, killed him, and he was like, I'm God now. Bow down to your authority. Serve your Lord. And they're like, so you see these stories of these different like God characters, and they do different things.
Maybe we could set up a time to go through the Old Testament, one book at a time.
That'd be cool.
I'd be down for that.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Even with like a group of people, that'd be awesome.
Let's do it. I'm down for it.
2A Willie says, Deuce asks the only decent question and makes Deucey, and makes KGP lie endlessly, obfuscate, and ignore the question constantly. Take a win, Culture Warriors. I can respect that, but her answers are meaningless no matter what. It's not a real thing. The press conferences are just wastes of time. Why anyone goes to them is beyond me. It's laughable. If it was actually Biden showing up, okay. I don't get it.
And how many times has she said the same thing repeatedly? Like, the same thing. Oh, it's an ongoing investigation. It's an ongoing investigation. Specifically with the Baltimore bridge collapse, people are hounding her, trying to find answers. It's an ongoing investigation. It's an ongoing investigation. Is there going to be any accountability? It's an ongoing investigation. Over and over and over. You make a good point, Tim. If it was Joe, but again, he's not physically or mentally capable of doing that probably at all anymore, if we're being quite frank.
The high-vis economist says, so I just found out the Jews have 3 magical red cows, red heifers, they are soon going to sacrifice to bring about the coming of their Messiah. This hasn't been done in over 2,000 years. Who had that on their bingo card? LOL, Google it. We don't know if they've confirmed the red heifer yet. They are looking for a pure red heifer with no blemishes. It may be that when the religious leaders come and check, and this happens, they've done checks several times for many, many times, they typically will find a blemish. Meaning no matter how good your red heifer is, they're going to find like a few hairs that are off color and be like, it's not a pure red heifer. If the red heifers that have bred this time are deemed to be pure and blemish-free, then yes, they are supposed to sacrifice it to bring about their Messiah. Many Christians believe this will be the coming back, the return of Jesus Christ. I have no idea.
Well, the beginning of the return of Jesus Christ. In fact, it would be the Antichrist.
Oh, what would be the
returns.
Antichrist?
Yes. Yeah. Their coming Messiah would, according to Scripture, be the Antichrist.
Oh, wow.
So a dude would come. People would think it was the return of the Messiah, and then it'd become evil, and then another guy comes later and is like, no.
The Antichrist, I don't believe is evil, right?
He's the antithesis of Christ. Yeah, he's
no,
evil.
but I'm pretty sure we had this big culture war about it. We're talking with like Sovereign Bra and Donnie Darkened. And the Antichrist is charismatic, helps people, fixes things, but subverts people from the will of the Lord and from Christ by by being a false idol.
It's a ruse. At first, the Antichrist, according to Scripture, is going to be a figure that seemingly unites the entire world. Many people will fall for him, and then at a certain point, you're going to realize you've fallen for the antithesis of Christ. Hitler times 100, basically. Ooh. And then he turns on the world.
And then is there more to the story?
Yeah, then Christ returns and, saves the earth.
As a dude? As a human?
He doesn't save the earth.
Well, he saves those that are remaining on the earth.
He saves the believers.
Well, the believers, and then, of course, there's the rapture. That's a part of, that's a component of Revelation. But then he does establish a kingdom on earth that lasts for 1,000 years, according to Scripture.
Only 1,000, though. Huh?
Yeah, it's a nice round number.
And the rapture is when he's like, hey, everybody, that's false. Do not follow that. And then the people that actually end up following him are the believers.
The rapture is when everybody are floating up naked towards the sky.
Is that really in the story? That's how they write it?
I have no idea.
It says that there's going to be, and it also the Scripture specifies, because I've been reading about this because everybody's talking about it because of the eclipse and everything, refreshing my memory. There is going to be a point in time that no one will know. Like, it's not appointed. You can't say, it's going to be April the 8th. Like, nobody's going to be able to identify it in advance. But according to Scripture, there's going to be a moment where somebody's just going to disappear right next to the other person. People will literally just vanish. And you're going to be like, what happened to them?
Their clothes will just fall?
Well, who knows? I mean, like, The Leftovers was a series that kind of, dealt with this in a fictional sense.
It's like The Langoliers. Have you seen that? When the plane flies through the rift in the time-space continuum and everyone was asleep, passes through, but everyone awake vanishes.
I remember that. Yeah, made-for-TV movie. It was a Stephen King novel. I could see, like, in the VR realm, when your friend logs out and their avatar just disappears, like, if people fall and start to believe that's reality, people are just disappearing.
If we're in a simulation.
I gotta go because Jesus is real and I'm back. And they're logging out and they're like, where's everyone? Where are they going? They're returning to Christ, bro. Like, that's what they did. They took the helmet off. They're back to normal now.
Right.
You're trapped.
Take off the visor. It's okay. Earth is sweet.
My friends, if you haven't already, please smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and head over to timcast.com, click join us, sign up to become a member. If you sign up for $10 a month, you can get access to our Discord server. And if you're a member for at least 6 months, you can submit questions to call in to our uncensored shows Monday through Thursday. If you sign up at the $25 level, you bypass the wait period. The reason for this is that we needed some kind of screening process because there's crazy weirdos who try to come in and cause problems. And so it's either time or it's money. It had to be something. We didn't want to make it. You had to pay, but then we're like, but then people don't want to wait. So those are your options if you want to support the show. There's other tier levels too. And we have the Elite Club, of course. It's $100 a month and you get special access to the Discord server. And the Elite Club members will get access to the special Cast Brew Social Club private members only, which will be a component of the Cast Brew shop when it opens up. Second floor. Going to be a lot of fun. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Daniel, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, if you like One American News, go online, download OAN Live. It's an app on the App Store. It would help One American News to continue to help bring you guys the truth, much like everybody here in this room does. It would be a massive help to us. And if you can find me on X at Baldwin _ Daniel _ for all the latest Trump news coming up now until November.
Sounds awesome. Chris Carr 17 on X. Please go to scnr.com for all of your news junkie needs. Over to you, Ian.
I wanted to shout out Jesus Christ because I talked earlier in the show about Bucko and how his spirit is still available to kind of almost maybe not reincarnate, but become available for you in your dreams and in your thoughts. Same with Jesus. He's here. Maybe it's not maybe he's transcended the body now, but his spirit is alive, or his spirit is at least sentient and available. So Jesus, we need you, and come join us, man. And I'm down. I'm not specifying any one religion. It's just he's been a big part of my life, his name and his story. So hopefully what our behavior can help expedite the process and reunify the species for better or worse. It'll probably be for better. Bye, everyone.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it as well. Let's see our friends in the after show.
We'll see you all over at timcast.com in about a minute. Thanks for hanging out.